Welcome to the Rewriting Naruto series. This is a series of videos where I rewrite Naruto, making changes to improve the story for my personal taste. This part of the rewrite is going to cover Deidara's backstory as well as a lot of lore and world building surrounding the Stone Village, and it's going to give development to characters like Onoki, Kurotsuchi, Roushi, and Kitsuchi as well, while Deidara will be giving a lot of development leading up to the Deidara versus Sasuke fight, which we're also going to get to see in rewrite form here as well in the end of the video. This video covers parts 51 through 54 of the Rewrite series, and if you have already watched them, there are a few tweaks and changes that I made to improve the story, so stick around to see those. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring notifications because those help me a lot. Seriously, do it. And let's get going. Naruto punched the ground in frustration. Tears fell on his hand, and he couldn't stand up because Sasuke slashed his ankles. The pain was sharp, but it didn't compare to the feeling of powerlessness boiling within Naruto. Why can't I ever do anything? I'm never strong enough. Why can't I ever convince him? Yamato managed to stand up after the effects of Sasuke's electric current waned. He touched Naruto's shoulder. You did well. There wasn't anything else you could have done. Rest easy. You tried everything to bring your friend back. I don't give a damn about resting! I have to bring him back! He's my friend, and I promised Sakura. I just can never convince him. Damn it! Maybe you two are just too different to come to an understanding, but still, you almost won, Naruto. You got desperate at the end. You've gotten stronger, way stronger. If we had more members of the battalion backing us up, we would have won. So don't be discouraged. But I still lost, even after everything I put into training. I put everything into that fight too. Everything I had.
But you didn't, Naruto.
The overpowering voice of the Nine-Tails said from within.
You didn't use me. You resisted the urge to summon my powers. The Uchiha had barely any chakra at the end of the fight. You could have used my power to heal your ankles, but you suppressed me.
Of course I suppressed you, filthy fox! Look at how many people are in this city! You would just want to kill them all! Besides, you lost bad to Sasuke last time anyway.
That wasn't me fighting him. It was only a mindless chakra of my creation. If you let me take control, I could have destroyed him there.
There you go. I didn't want to destroy Sasuke, you moron. I just want to take him back. And besides, you just want to take over my body and kill me in the process. I will never use your chakra again.
We shall see.
Sasuke landed a few kilometers away from the port city of Origuru. He deactivated his curse mark and Sharingan, for he was very tired. I just have to keep on getting as far away from that city as possible. And I'll have to stay away from our general meeting point that I set with Sugetsu, Jugo, and Karin. They could have been captured, and the Leaf would be using them as bait to catch me once they try to find them. That would be bad. I barely have any chakra left. Never thought Naruto would learn those abilities and force me to use a skin chain substitution. So if I had to fight Kakashi and other Leaf ninjas now, I'd be in trouble.
Don't worry, my dear. If they trap you, I would get you out of it.
Orochimaru said from within Sasuke. I will never surrender my body to you. I'll never grant you that satisfaction.
You say that now, but there is a reason why you chose to absorb me instead of outright killing me, isn't there? My boy.
You disgust me. Having your constant presence within my psyche is repulsive, for your powers are useful.
Oh my. What about all those years we spent training together? Have you not grown to care for me just a little in that frigid heart of yours?
No, ever since I joined you, I have been planning to kill you. You may have believed I would surrender my body willingly, but that was a lie.
So your vengeance was never that important to you. Didn't you want to fulfill it by any means necessary, Sasuke? Even if I had to take over your body and fight against Itachi with our combined strength?
You could never beat him, Orochimaru. Even if you had my body and eyes, you're not the type of ninja that can kill Itachi Uchiha. So I decided that when you were no longer useful, I would eliminate you and move on. But then it occurred to me that I could take in your powers instead. So in a way, your plan succeeded. Just not for you.
So the little cat dodged the snake's pounce. But I wouldn't be so confident. When the time comes, you will need me to save you, and I will be here for you, my boy.
No need to worry. Once I kill Itachi, I'll regurgitate you out of me and execute you. I'll no longer need your powers after he's dead.
Oh, so the cat will show me his claws then. I look forward to it.
Is Jugo awake yet? So we get to ask Karin. No, he actually took a lot of damage. That Shino guy is way stronger than he looks. I don't have chakra to heal Jugo right now, so we should just probably take a rest here. Yeah, going to their meeting point after everything that happened is like walking straight into a leaf trap. They will probably be just waiting for us there, right? So Getsu still couldn't bring himself to look Karin in the eye, but he managed to talk to her. Yeah, and apparently the battalion is much bigger than the 3 we fought. Anyway, let's rest here and recover some chakra. Suigetsu snapped as an overwhelming realization came to him. He was too distracted by the situation they were in, and also being close to Karin after the things I told her, but now he noticed something was missing. Karin, where's my sword? Your sword, yeah, you don't have it right now. Did you get my sword? Jugo broke it and I dropped it! Of course I don't have your sword. Whoever brought us here just knocked me out before I realized what was going on, and besides, the sword's broken anyways. What do you want to do with it? No, Karin, we have to get back! I can't lose the executioner's blade like that. It would be so stupid! You just said that going to the meeting point is like walking into a trap. I don't mean going to the meeting point. I mean going back to the city. Just back to where, the sword was dropped. That's even worse, you imbecile. I don't care. I'm going. Suigetsu finally stood up with his wobbling legs, but Karin held him back by the neck. You're not going anywhere. You don't even know where we are. I can guide myself using the stars once it gets dark. You have no idea how to do that. True, but you do. I'm not letting you risk your life for a stupid sword that's broken. Suigetsu froze for a brief instant. So, you're saying you care about me? He opened a wide grin. If you go there, you just put the whole mission at risk, and Sasuke will be pissed. But you said your life, not our mission. Just shut up. Karin pulled Suigetsu back down. Sasuke has a blood summoning contract with that stupid sword. Once we regroup, he can summon it back to you. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's actually smart. It's not smart, you're just too dumb. Oh, don't get me started. I'm not the one in love with a guy that couldn't care less about you. Sasuke cares about me. No, he doesn't. He does! Besides, you're in love with me, and I couldn't care less about you, so you're not the one to talk. Yamato sent a few wood clones to check on the civilians and the city in general after Naruto and Sasuke's clash. It seems no one died, but several people got hurt, and the city took a lot of damage from the explosion. I'm glad he got those people right beneath the orb of light away before it blew up, because that would have been pretty bad. I didn't know the clash would create that explosion. I meant to strike my Rasengan against his Chidori because wind is strong against lightning, but that explosion was too much. I didn't do that last time. Naruto was still on the ground, clutching his ankles. The last time you were both much weaker, so you have to be mindful of the power of your ninjutsu, especially when there are civilians around. Yamato, status reports. Kakashi said via mind link. We engaged Sasuke, but he escaped. The city suffered damage, but no casualties. And Naruto? He's upset, and his ankles are hurt. He can barely walk. But he's alright, all things considered. I knew sending the two of you was a mistake. You're gonna have to carry him. We need to regroup right now. Something happened? Don't tell Naruto just yet, but Anko is dead. Yamato's mouth dried, and he felt tingles on his tongue as a wave of adrenaline washed over him. How, senpai? Kabuto, Kakashi thought, and then gave Yamato the coordinates for their new meeting point a few kilometers away from the port city. We have to regroup as soon as possible. All our teams are vulnerable. If the Akatsuki attacks, we could be picked apart, especially considering that we have Naruto here. Roger that, Battalion Lord. Sasuke found himself a hidden spot in the forest and set up an alarm system with kunai and wires. A large deer carcass laid close so that it would disguise Sasuke's scent at least a little bit for the dogs and make it more difficult to track him. That should be a good place for him to rest and recover his chakra, and once he did so, he would find Suigetsu, Jugo, and Karin using the cover of the night. Sasuke sat down in his alcove and closed his eyes as the sun began to set, tainting the sky red. Yamato carried Naruto, jumping from tree to tree through the forest as the sky turned dark. Eventually they reached the battalion's new meeting point. They were the last ones to arrive. The whole battalion was in a pitiful state, hurt, out of chakra, and their faces were gloom. Even though they were in a bad situation, they seemed to be too quiet. Rock Lee was still unconscious, Neji's face had swollen to a comic extent, but who shocked Naruto the most was Shikamaru. Shikamaru, your arm! It's a drag, but there's nothing we can do about it. Kabuto? Yeah, we found him and fought him, but my arm, well, it's not the worst part. What do you mean? Anko's dead. Kabuto killed her in combat and fled, Kakashi said with a severe tone. What? How? He was way stronger than before, and we fought him in his terrain. Shikamaru's anger seeped out of his voice. Let me down! Where is she? Naruto told Yamato who put him down, but he still couldn't walk, so he crawled. Kakashi put a hand on his shoulder. I'll take you to her. The others have already paid their respects. Kakashi carried Naruto away from the group, signaling the others to stay. They arrived at a beautiful myrtle tree nearby. The red flowers were vivid, and the final embers of sunlight still reflected on them. Anko's body laid beneath it, chopped in two parts. Her eyes were dead. Naruto felt sick to his stomach. Kakashi put him down close to Anko. He was in shock. He wasn't particularly close to her, but she had been a comrade, fighting in the same battalion, going on the same mission. It was a surreal feeling. She was dead right in front of him, and the way she died was so brutal. Naruto's body shook, and his breathing became erratic.
You couldn't save her.
The Nine-Tails said from within, "Shut up!" Naruto's yell echoed in the forest. He mustered all of his willpower to suppress the Nine-Tails' chakra from leaking out. Shouldn't we close her eyes? It took us a while to find her, so the eyelids hardened in place. But now after a few hours passed, I suppose we can. Naruto did so, closing her dead eyes. It's the first time for you, isn't it? To have a comrade die on a mission with you. Yeah. Naruto joined his hands in a prayer for Anko. Did she have family? No, her father died in the Third Great Ninja War. Her mother died in the Nine-Tails incident. Naruto heard the Nine-Tails' laughter from within once more, and with a humongous mental effort suppressed his anger at the demon. I didn't know. Naruto felt closer to Anko. Knowing she was an orphan like him made him empathize more with her. I wish I got to know her better. Regret is something you carry regardless of who and how they die. Regardless if it's rational or not, you'll have it. I, for one, was careless, too eager to get to Sasuke. Our best chance to find him was to spread the group very thin, so Anko's death was my responsibility. No, I mean, it wasn't your fault, Sensei. Kabuto killed her! It was my fault, but that doesn't mean it was the wrong choice. Anko knew the risks of this mission. All of us do. Several things we couldn't have anticipated happened at the same time. Naruto, sometimes your comrades will die. It may be because of a mistake, bad luck, or simply because the enemy was stronger. It's how you deal with their deaths that separates mediocre from great shinobi. What do you think we should do next? You're asking me? Kakashi nodded. Well, if we don't keep going, her sacrifice will go to waste. We can't call off the mission or anything like that. Good. You understand. This is the life of a shinobi. Besides, an S-class mission requires a squadron to continue despite its losses, so long as there's a chance of success. Shinobi push through pain and through loss. Kabuto, that bastard. I won't let him get away with it. Naruto clenched his fists. In time, but for now we have to focus on our mission. Itachi and Sasuke are the priorities. Naruto closed his eyes in frustration, and tears fell off of them. And I failed. I wasn't even able to get Sasuke back. If we had gone and helped them instead, maybe Anko wouldn't be dead. Open your eyes, Naruto. Look at Anko once more. Naruto did so, staring at the dead body. When I was even younger than you are right now, my life was spent on the Great War battlefield. Getting over the death of comrades to fight another day was routine. It happened almost every day, sometimes more than once a day. We are here on this mission to avoid that from ever happening again. We can't let losses like Anko's become norm in another great war, so we fight. Reflect upon your choices so that you can do better next time, but don't regret them. We are shinobi of the Leaf Village. We carry the will of fire, and this mission is to protect that village and this entire land. To protect the flame. That is what Anko died for. Naruto gave a solemn nod. So what will you do next? We'll spend the night here and rest, and also rest for the next day. We need Sakura and Ino to recover their chakra to heal us all tomorrow. And then we will continue the search. This time, I'll keep the battalion together. Shino has a lead on Deidara of the Akatsuki. We will start looking for him. We must find Itachi before Sasuke. Or at least find Sasuke again. Because the next time, I'll be there with you. Naruto nodded. Now let's call the others. We should bury our comrade together. Deidara flew up in the sky on top of a large clay bird after hours spent on a fruitless search. I'll kill that idiot, I swear. Next time he falls off my bird. Senpai! Toby said from behind Deidara, who gave a slight jump. When did you get here? I swear I'll kill you, Toby! Where have you been all this time? And you better give me a good answer. I was looking for that pesky fly, Senpai. I'm really sorry. I fell off the bird and got lost in the forest. And the worst thing, I couldn't even find the fly. Deidara's eye twitched in anger. Do you know how much time you made me waste looking for you in that forest? Now we're gonna keep on searching for the Uchiha boy into the night to compensate for it. Deidara turned away from Toby and looked down using his eye gadget. Toby slapped Deidara in the middle of his ass, making him fall face first on top of the back of his bird. I got it, Senpai! I got it! I finally did it! I got the fly! Toby raised his palm, which had a smashed bug on it. Deidara stood up calmly and turned around slowly, looking at Toby with sheer murderous intent. Toby! Toby exploded away from the bird and into the dark sky, trailing smoke behind him. I'm sorry, Battalion Lord. My female bug has been destroyed. My bug's lost its scent. I can't track Deidara anymore. I apologize for my failure. Shino told Kakashi after the battalion had buried Anko and created a memorial of 3 kunai staking on the dirt, linked by wire right where Anko was buried. It doesn't surprise me they would detect it. It's the Akatsuki after all. We'll track them by smell again. We'll remain a single unit this time. Battalion Lord, I should step away and return to the village. I'll be a burden to everyone in my state, Shikamaru said. Do you really believe that? Or is that your guild talking? Kakashi asked. I cannot weave signs and I lost my dominant hand. I can't fight with any competence anymore. My ninja career is over. That's not true! Sasuke knows how to weave hand signs with one hand, and Haku knew them as well. You can learn them too, Shikamaru! You're smarter than Sasuke! Naruto said as Choji looked at Shikamaru, holding back tears. Sasuke and I are not cut from the same cloth. And for now at least, I don't want to endanger the mission, so I should go. I'll go with you. Make sure everything is okay on the way back. No, Choji. You're still capable of fighting, and will need every ounce of strength to complete this mission, Kakashi said. Don't worry, Choji. I'll rest for tonight and leave in the morning. Hopefully I'll get a little bit of ninjutsu healing, so that it will make my journey as painful. Tenten, you are to accompany Shikamaru back to the Leaf Village. That way, he won't be alone in his journey. What? Me? But Taylor, I'm fully recovered. That's why I'm sending you. So if that anything happens, you can fight against a possible enemy that attacks Shikamaru. Should I bring Lee with me? He looks very hurt. No, Lee will stay with us. Sakura shall heal him tomorrow. Tenten gave Akashi an unenthusiastic nod as Naruto asked Sakura to sit next to him, seeing that he couldn't still walk. She did so, sitting next to him around the campfire. I'm sorry, Naruto, I don't have any chakra to heal your ankles for now. That's alright. I'm the one who's sorry here. I failed again. Couldn't fulfill my promise to you. Sakura looked down. It's always you doing everything, isn't it? It never changes. I wish I wouldn't be a burden. I wish you hadn't made that promise. No, that's not what I meant! Sakura looked at Naruto's ankles and then to the several wounds around his body. Look at what this promise did to you. You don't deserve this. Sakura, I'll get stronger. And next time for sure, I'll bring him back. Besides, don't worry. Sasuke still cares. Maybe he'll just return to the village by himself. He really cares, I mean it. It's like Shino said. He wants to come back. He just can't bring himself to do it. Really? When we saw him in the land of grass, he was so cold. Really? I transformed the shadow clone into you. He couldn't stop staring at it. It was creeping me out, to be honest, because he was staring at me. He got so distracted I caught him from behind, totally off guard. Sasuke's so madly in love. Sakura blushed. They say the distance makes the heart grow fonder. Yamato startled them appearing from behind. Damn, I thought you'd be used to my face by now. It's not that! It's just that you creep on us out of nowhere! Still, Naruto, I admire your, openness, I suppose. It's not every dude that lets his girl date other dudes. Oh, shut up! Sakura's not my girl! Naruto was fuming, but Sakura laughed. Huh? You're not mad at him, Sakura? No, knowing that he still cares, it gives me hope.
Sasuke Uchiha, I'm gonna kill you!
Deidara shouted into the forest as he surged it from above, still flying on his great claybird.
Deidara-senpai, you scare me! Why do you want to kill Sasuke so bad?
What is the true meaning of art for you, Toby?
Art? Well, I'd say the moon!
The moon? Why?
No matter how far apart you are, if you both look at the moon, your gazes will meet.
Deidara was taken aback. I wasn't expecting an answer like that. But that doesn't count. Art has to be created by a human.
But the moon was created by a human.
What?
Never mind, never mind.
Well, I admire your answer. You put some effort and thought into it at least. But Toby, true art is
An explosion!
Yes, exactly. You're learning.
I just don't understand why that has anything to do with killing Sasuke Uchiha.
It has everything to do with it. 12 years ago, Deidara woke up for another boring day of his boring life. He dressed up with his traditional boring red monk robes and made his way to the boring temple courtyard for his boring routine morning exercises. A crowd of monk boys dressed exactly the same as him, and they lined up in files, sitting and doing the exercises led by a senior monk. That was so stupid and boring. Deidara detested those exercises. They were supposed to stay still, but he never saw the point in them. Breathing? Anyone can breathe. At 7 years old, he lived in the stone temple of Erude, in a remote location of the land of Earth. He never knew his parents, and had lived in this temple ever since he remembered himself as a person. The temple itself was located on the top of a large mountain. The many buildings were carved on the rock itself, no doubt by ninjutsu from stone ninjas. Deidara had no last name, just like all the other stone monks. He had no identity, he didn't know who he was. He was just another idiot monk boy, doing breathing exercises in the morning. Deidara had attempted to escape the temple 6 times now, all unsuccessful attempts, and every time he failed, the monks punished him harsher and harsher, with an avalanche of additional boring breathing and meditation exercises for weeks on end. He would only be able to leave once he reached 18 years old, and it would take another 11 years for that to happen. 11 more years of torture. His golden years will be wasted in this temple. Remember, when you breathe, you're receiving God into your body. Open yourself and listen to his voice in your mind, the senior monk said. The monk boys around Deidara smiled and seemed content with those instructions. What a lot of bullcrap, Deidara thought. He tried to open himself to God like the old monk said once, but Deidara never heard anything in his head, never felt any supernatural presence. He was sure that was all a ploy to keep the children imprisoned, and the worst thing was that the other monks, they all believed in those stupid teachings. Naturally, they all hated Deidara for merely wanting to be free. There was no God, there was no divine. If those things existed, then they wouldn't have sentenced Deidara to this sort of life. Only a few of you will ever ascend high enough for a great passing, but any of you can, so long as you accept God into your life, your breath, your food, and everything you do. The monks always talked about this great passing. Deidara had no idea what it was, and he had no desire to learn about it. The torture's morning exercise routine mercifully ended at around lunchtime. Deidara ate his boring vegetarian dish with the other monks. He didn't talk to anyone, that bunch of sheep. They weren't even allowed to eat meat. Deidara had only had meat once, and he loved it. He got into a lot of trouble for it, because for some reason the monks say that eating meat is bad for you or something. Maybe God is in the meat. Deidara never knew. He only got that piece of meat by getting smuggled in from one of the merchants that sometimes visits the temple. After lunch, Deidara and the other monk boys fulfilled their excruciatingly boring cleaning duty. Of course, Deidara had to clean the temple's latrines. It was one of the punishments for the several escape attempts. In the afternoon, Deidara had calligraphy classes and prayer sections. Prayer sections to him were exactly the same as breathing exercises. They're basically the same boring thing, and they prayed for hours on end. Deidara couldn't take it anymore. He had attempted all types of escape he could imagine. Smuggled out by a traveling merchant, climbing down the temple walls, crawling through the latrines. He never made it out of the mountain, and every time he failed to escape, the monks reinforced security. After Deidara finished his late afternoon praying session, well, his pretending to pray a praying session, he had the temple's bland vegetarian dinner. Usually after dinner, the monk boys would have their evening exercise routine, but tonight was different. Once a week, monk boys had a different type of lesson in the evening, one they actually could choose. This was the only time in his life that Deidara had a modicum of freedom. He had chosen art lessons. It was the one that seemed the least boring to him, so he felt a little bit of excitement before class. He grabbed his latest sculpture and headed towards it. The class was in the underground of the temple, carved from stone, almost like a cave. Rohogu, the old monk that taught them art, had created a paper sculpture that perfectly resembled himself, the sculpture of a monk that sat in the front of the classroom as the monk boy sat on the floor, looking at it, lined up. The sculpture was a papier-mâché sculpture. Deidara found that unsightly. Paper was so boring to work with. Rohogu opened a glass bottle filled with some type of oil and drenched his sculpture with it. He then lit it on fire with a candle. The monk boys let out a collective gasp as the sculpture began to burn with a perfectly smooth and uniform flame, but Deidara was unimpressed. These monks managed to even make fire look boring. The flame burning the sculpture represents the fire of life. The more stable it is, the more peaceful it will be. You must always seek peace and stability. You must make sure the fire keeps burning at a good, steady pace. Not too slow, not too fast. That is the key for a fulfilling life. Naturally, once you grow older, the fire of life will begin to fade. Someone like me has barely any fire left, the old monk said, chuckling, as the fire began to die down, the papier-mâché statuette almost completely consumed. At the end of life, the fire will go out. The statuette fell, charred, but no longer burning. It is important that you keep the flame steady, so it burns for longer. Life can be complicated, but it mustn't be hasty. Clear your mind of anxiety, for if you do so, the flame will burn steady and longer, and your life will be more fulfilling and also last longer. That is why you must open yourself to God in every action of your day. The stability provided by God, the peace and tranquility, that is the purpose of a fulfilling life. And true art is that which imitates life to perfection. I showed to you my little statuettes burning slowly and steady, just like life is supposed to be. Peace and tranquility. I asked you to create a copy of yourselves with papier-mâché, a small one of course, just like the one I did. Now you will pour the oil on them and watch them burn. It will replicate the life you will choose to lead. If you followed my lessons, the flame of your statuette shall burn smooth and steady for a long time before it goes out. Deidara sneered at those instructions. He naturally didn't follow them. Old Rohogu had no idea of what art was. Why should art have to replicate life exactly? That was so limiting and boring. It was so uncreative, it made Deidara angry. Deidara himself didn't know exactly what art really was, but he knew Rohogu was wrong. As the other monk boys pulled their statuettes made out of papier-mâché from their satchels, Deidara pulled out a dragon statuette made out of clay. Rohogu let out a grunt when he saw it and strode towards Deidara. What do you think you're doing, Deidara? Isn't it kind of obvious? It's a clay dragon! Much cooler than that stupid paper statuette. It's so boring when I gouge my eyes out. Dragons don't even exist. This is not art. Of course they exist. I just made one right here. This is art. And it looks 10 times better than any of the other stupid paper statuettes that you made here. Deidara said, looking around the class. You didn't listen to a single word of my lessons, did you? I did! And it's all trash! You have no clue about art, old man! And you suppose you do, Deidara. Small boy like you. You have everything figured out. I never said that! You're dumb and boring! Oh, spare me. How did you even make this clay dragon? We don't have clay in the temple. I used dirt and mixed it up with my spit, and then I chewed on it until it got thick enough. And then I molded it into this badass dragon. The other monk boys groaned in disgust. How are you even supposed to burn a clay sculpture, Deidara? You should have followed my instructions. I'd rather break my dragon than let a stupid, boring fire burn it. Deidara, you don't understand. Fire is balance. You have to reach it. Oh yeah? Balance this then, you old fart. Deidara unleashed all his pent-up anger and tossed his clay dragon at Rohogu's face. The hard clay hit the face right on the nose and exploded. At that moment, that fraction of a second, Deidara was mesmerized. For the first time, he saw something truly beautiful. The clay shattering into 1,000 shards, breaking the monk's nose, cutting his face all over, and drawing blood which mixed itself with the beautiful pattern of the clay shattering. Red gushes of blood and brown piece of clay combined, creating something so unique in that very moment that no matter how many times Deidara, or anybody else for that matter, try to do again, no one will never be able to. In that very moment, as the monk fell down and the pieces of his dragon dotted the ground around him, Deidara saw it for the first time. A glimpse of infinity. The excitement and beauty of not knowing how the pieces will break and what will result from it. The infinite possibilities that a single action could create, splitting its initial parts randomly without control. Deidara had a realization. It wasn't creation itself that made beauty, but how creations ended. The whimper the papier-mâché sculptures went out with could never compare to the shattering of the clay dragon, the instant of finality. That was the moment where one could glimpse infinity. That was true art. Deidara smiled in glee as the monk moaned on the ground, clutching his bleeding face. The monk boys began to shout for help, and it didn't take long for other senior monks to arrive. They dragged Deidara out of the room and imprisoned him in a small room without windows or even a bed. Deidara did not protest. The only thing in his mind was the image of his dragon breaking. He couldn't stop smiling, which deeply disturbed the monks. The next day, they decided that Deidara was to fulfill cleaning duties twice as much and praying duties 3 times as much as any other monk for a whole year as punishment. A senior monk would also supervise him at all times to ensure Deidara's good behavior, and he was banished from art lessons. According to the monks, a monk who managed to change Deidara's antics would qualify for a great passing. Whatever that was. He didn't care about his punishment though. Seeing true beauty for the first time was so striking, Deidara thought there was a low price to pay for it. He just wished he could see it one more time, but it would take him 11 years to leave this place. On the first day of Deidara's punishment, he was praying alone in a small shrine near the entrance of the greater temple. One of the most senior monks observed him and made sure Deidara prayed out loud, reciting all verses and prayers correctly. And for the first weeks, that would be the case, to instill a sense of discipline on Deidara, to make him afraid to break the rules again. And as that old monk kept on telling him how to pray properly, they arrived. 2 men and a woman. That took Deidara by surprise. He had never seen a woman before, as they were forbidden to enter the temple. Even the occasional traveling merchants that visited the temple were always men. What was more surprising is that it appeared that the woman led the party. When they spotted the old monk overseeing Deidara, they walked straight towards them, which made Deidara excited. His excitement amplified even more when he saw the symbol they bore. The stone village symbol. They were shinobi. Deidara had heard many stories about them. The monks seemed to hate them, saying that ninjas only serve to cause war and destruction. Deidara found that prospect fascinating, and he respected the ninjas even more just because the monks didn't like them. "Monk, are you a senior of this temple?" the woman said, in a somewhat bored but arrogant tone. Deidara had never seen anyone talking to the senior monks like that before. That made him like that woman instantly. "Women are not supposed to set foot on the Erode temple. You are to leave right now," the monk said. "I don't care. We are shinobi. Your dogmas don't apply to us. Answer my questions, will ya?" she said, casually passing her hands through her shoulder-length jet-black hair. "I am Sako, an Erode monk of the 4th heightening." "Is that heightening high?" she asked without any true interest but a hint of sarcasm. "Yes, quite. I'll be able to execute a great passing soon enough." "Whatever, I don't care about that. What I care about is the boys you'll be handing to me." "What do you mean, girl?" She passed him a scroll which the monk opened and read. "The Tsuchikage has issued a decree that the villages all around the land of Earth are to provide the stone village with their greatest prospects to be trained as shinobi." "Please, me! Please take me, please!" Deidara shouted. The woman looked at him and smiled, which made Deidara blush. He didn't know how to act around women. Were they like him? The monks never taught anything about them. "No, you cannot be taken. You must be educated. As a matter of fact, none of our monk boys will be taken. We are not a village, we are a temple. It is against the law to draft any of our acolytes into shinobi service." That would have been the case in regular times, but the stone village is severely lacking in manpower. We need to replenish our ninjas quickly. We lost too many over the last war. The Tsuchikage has issued a special decree allowing us to draft recruits anywhere in the land of stone, as a matter of fact. So your temple will count. I heard your monk boys are very well fed and disciplined. They'll be perfect perfect candidates. That's why I came here. That makes no sense. The war ended years ago. And yet, the hole it left behind our shinobi force is still gaping. But our monk boys, they are to lead a life of peace and tranquility. They're not to fight in your wars. Well, take that up with a yellow flash. Not that he'd be alive to listen to your rambling anymore. But you look like you're about to drop that any second, so that's convenient for you. That's sacrilegious! You cannot take them away from their place of worship. Just shut your mouth and do as I say, alright? I'd rather not use violence on a bunch of stone-hugging monks. Gather all your boys from ages 5 to 10. I will run some tests and take about 10 of your most talented ones. If you hide any of the boys, I will know. If you tell the boys what the test is for so that they can tank it and not be chosen, I will know. So don't even try it, alright? The monk acquiesced and left Deidara behind to fulfill the shinobi's orders. He was in awe of what that woman just did, so he looked at her with wide open eyes and a smile. Can you please take me with you? I hate this place. It's a prison. They torture me with all this boring stuff just because I'm not stupid like them. The woman smiled, and the two men behind her chuckled at Deidara's statement. What's your name, kid? I'm Deidara. I'm Kurohiri, and don't worry, I'll take you. I can already see it in your eyes. You're eager for more, never satisfied with the things as they are. I like that. Kind of reminds me of my daughter. Thank you so much! Deidara couldn't believe his luck. The day after he saw true art for the first time, someone appeared to rescue him and take him out of that stupid temple. Perhaps some sort of god did exist. Once he left this cursed place, he could create that beauty once more and understand what art truly was. Later that day, Kurohiri ran a few tries with the young monk boys. Stamina, speed, strength, jumping, and throwing exercises. Deidara took part in them as per the woman's request, and to his surprise, he did extremely well, only losing to a few monk boys 2 to 3 years older than him. At the end of the day, Kurohiri announced the names of the boys that she would be choosing. Deidara was the first name of the list, followed by 11 others. He beamed in happiness. Finally, he would leave this temple, and his demeanor struck a sharp contrast with the other chosen monks. They all cried, all 11 of them, almost as though they were about to be executed. Deidara couldn't help but to laugh at their faces. Now, Deidara, don't laugh at them. They're leaving their home. It's difficult to leave a place you're attached to, okay? Kurohiri told him, so Deidara contained himself, but couldn't really relate to what she just said. He had never been attached to any place or anyone. Leaving for him was the best thing to ever happen. A total no-brainer. Kurohiri gave the chosen boys a day to gather their belongings and say goodbye. Not that monk boys had many belongings. The next day, they were all ready to leave, about to exit the temples. All monks from the temple gathered to see their former acolytes off. The mood was grim. Deidara was the only one smiling out of the hundreds in the crowd. We wish you a safe journey and good fortunes. An old monk told the ones leaving as they stepped outside of the gates. Deidara smiled. He turned around and faced the crowd of monks that were staying in the prison and pointed his fingers at them. So long, you stupid idiots! One day I'll come back and I'll show all of you the true meaning of art! Deidara walked down the great mountain that had imprisoned him his entire life. He stared up towards the peak, gazing at the temple with contempt, but he smiled. The other monks alongside him cried. There was a great sense of sorrow in them, which Deidara did not share. He contained his glee, as per Kurohiri's request. He didn't want to make the woman who liberated him angry. They reached a section of the mountain descent where a chasm formed itself in front of them, cutting through the narrow road. It was over 10 meters wide, impossible to pass normally. How are we ever gonna cross that? Deidara asked. You see, you need to know ninjutsu in order to come and go from the Erode temple. Luckily for you, I just so happen to be very accomplished with ninjutsu, Kurohiri said, waving hand signs. Earth style, land bridge. The stone from one of the edges of the chasm leapt towards the other side, creating a wide bridge over the abyss. Deidara's mouth curled into a smile upon seeing the bridge manifesting itself. He had never seen ninjutsu before. They crossed the chasm and finally left the mountain. When Deidara looked up, the peak was no longer visible, for the clouds were lower than the mountain peak itself. That bridge you made was interesting. There was some sort of art to it, but not enough, Deidara told Kurohiri. Art? What do you mean? There's art in ninjutsu because it seeks infinity, right? That bridge just didn't have enough impact to see. To see what? Infinity? You're funny, Deidara. I have no idea what you're talking about. Did the monks teach you that? In a way, yeah. Is that why you volunteered to be a ninja? To learn ninjutsu? Well, first I need to get the hell out of there, but yeah, I will find out what true art is. place, and ninjutsu will take me there. Well, you know you'll be a shinobi, right? Not an artist. Yes, yeah. If you graduate from the Ninja Academy, you can only retire after 35 years of service to the Stone Village. Or if for some reason you can no longer be a shinobi. But if you don't respect that, you'll be considered a rogue ninja, and you don't want to become that. Can't I just still do art while I'm a ninja as well? Yeah, of course, you just can't do whenever you wanted. You'll have to do it in your free time and not break any rules. Deidara was more than happy with that. He had barely any free time in the temple, and learning ninjutsu sounded exciting. The group of ninjas and young monks walked for a few days, traversing the rocky landscape and camping on the side of the road. They weathered rain, wind, and the blazing sun on their way to the Stone Village. The ninjas accompanying them bought supplies from merchants that passed on the road or the occasional inn they found on the way. Every time they went to sleep, Deidara noticed Kurohiri writing something on a notebook. She wrote for a long time before lying down, which made Deidara curious. On the 5th day of voyage, Deidara finally asked her, "What are you writing about?" "Oh, I'm writing journal entries in my diary. I thought diaries were for kids." "Well, I guess so, but I write it for my daughter. She loves to read about what happens during my missions. Of course, I can't write about everything, but I love to share what I can with her." "Oh, that's nice." Deidara couldn't understand that very well. He had never had a parental figure, only those monks. "Is it true that ninjas use papers that explode?" Kurohiri finished her writing and closed the notebook. "Well, yes. Explosive paper tags, they're common shinobi gear. Do you have one on you?" "I don't know." "Damn it, I wanted to see how they work." Kurohiri smiled. She looked around as the ninjas and monk boys were getting ready to sleep. "I'm sure you'll get the chance sooner than you think." Deidara went to sleep, but he was awake in the middle of the night. Kurohiri looked at him with a devious smile and her index finger to her lips. She quietly motioned Deidara to follow her. He didn't even question and went after the woman. After they had walked about 10 minutes away from the campsite, Deidara finally said, "Where are we going? You wanted to see paper bombs, right? We have to get far away enough so they wouldn't hear us. I may be a Jonin leader, but I'll get into a lot of trouble if they catch me doing this." Her words sounded like a warning, but her face was gleeful, and Deidara smiled. "Really? That's awesome!" They got to the side of a steep hill, and Kurohiri smiled, pulling a red piece of paper out of her bag and hung it on the rock. "We gotta walk a few steps away. Also, you should cover your ears. This is gonna be loud." "No, I wanna feel everything. Covering my ears will make it less exciting." "Alright." The paper tag reacts to chakra and explodes. Check this out. Kurohiri raised one hand with the index and middle fingers pointing up and yelled, "Cats!" The paper exploded in a flash of white-yellow light. The sound and shockwave hit Deidara, who smiled in awe. That explosion, that was artistic. That paper tag, its end was beautiful. A masterful sublimation. The brief instant of obliteration became imprinted into Deidara's mind. That was beautiful. Kurohiri chuckled. "If you say so. It is cool, I'm not gonna lie." "Why did you say that word? Katsu." "Oh, that's weird coming from you, monk boy. It's a type of shao that's used to stop the discursive thoughts, and it can potentially help to achieve an enlightenment experience. Or so I learned. My old sensei taught me that. He's no longer with us, he died in the war, but he had a very spiritual way to view life. I mostly say it as a quirk nowadays. It helps maintain concentration and remember sensei, so it's nice, but it's not as though it's helping my jutsu out. Those stupid monks couldn't even teach me that. They're all useless. Come on. So maybe if I say that, it could help me see the slice of infinity in the explosion." "I'm not sure what you mean, but that sounds good, yeah. Do you want to try it?" Deidara beamed. "Really?" "Yeah. Let's see if you're able to mold your chakra and send it over to the paper bomb. If you can, that's alright. I'll do it myself again." Kurohiri approached a section of the wall near the one that smoked from the previous explosion, and she placed a dozen paper bombs stacked on top of each other. "We should get a little further away this time. This one's gonna pack a punch." Deidara walked further back with her. "Now, you have to feel your chakra flowing, and once you do, concentrate and expel it towards the paper tags." Deidara nodded. "Everyone feels their own chakra differently. Close your eyes and reach inward. Breathe deeply and think about the explosion." Deidara did so. "What do you feel? Can you sense your own chakra?" "Yeah, it's popping." Deidara raised his hand just like Kurohiri did a minute ago, with a terse motion, and yelled, "Cats!" The paper bombs all ignited at once, exploding in a chaotic blast that sent shards of debris everywhere. The fire rose up into the night sky in the shape of a 3 3-pointed column, with one major pillar of fire rising straight and the other two rising diagonally from the sides. The shockwave almost knocked Deidara back. The sound assaulted his ears, but he only felt vigor flowing through his veins. Out of infinite possibilities, he created that specific shape, the 3-pronged column. That was infinity, a tiny piece of it. He felt the word he shouted let him concentrate better, so he focused on his creation, or rather, his destruction. His mouth hung open in sheer shock. The awe of the explosion itself would never be forgotten. Kurohiri's mouth hung open as well, but she looked at Deidara, not at the explosion. I cannot believe he managed to control his chakra and detonate attacks in his first try without ever having used ninjutsu before. I was just teasing him. I was gonna do it myself. I was sure he wasn't be able to do it, and he did it effortlessly his first try. Those monks are completely against ninjutsu, so this boy never had any training, and he can control his chakra instinctively this way. He's a prodigy, Kurohiri thought in amazement. Nice work, Deidara. This was art. I have to pursue that. I have to learn how to make it myself. Well, that's good. There are ninjas that specialize in using paper bombs, so you can be one of them. No, I have to create it myself, or it's not gonna be complete. Kurohiri smiled at that. He was a curious boy. Being raised by monks and being a rebel was not something normal. Well, I'm sure you're gonna figure something out, Deidara. Now let's get back to the others before they notice we're gone. It took them over a week to reach the stone village. The vast city was hidden amidst a great mountain range, and when Deidara passed through the gates and saw the village itself with its countless stone buildings that came out of the ground, just like in the Erode temple, he couldn't help but to feel disappointed. The stories he heard about this village made it sound magnificent, artistic, but the buildings were very similar to the temple buildings. Most of them were created with Earth-style ninjutsu and had no artistic value to them, as if they were only built for function. The place looked drab and boring. The city might be immense, but all buildings look like the same exact thing with that boring stone color. It was as if the people from this place had no idea what art was, just like the monks. Even the people themselves looked a little dull. Food stalls sold rather stale food, and Deidara could see no signs of art, be it sculptures, paintings, or even vandalism. He was about to complain about it to Kurohiri, but a voice interrupted him. Finally, I can feel you. I can feel something. Please, I'm dying. Save me, please. A beautiful female voice said in an otherworldly melody. Deidara looked around, searching for whoever talked to him, but he didn't see anyone speaking. Is everything alright, Deidara? I know the size of the village can be overwhelming if you've never seen it before, but it'll be okay, Kurohiri said. Did you hear that voice? What voice? I don't know. It sounded like a weird woman. I think you're just tired from the long journey. You'll be able to rest soon enough. Okay, Deidara said, but he wasn't convinced. He definitely heard something. It wasn't just his imagination. Could it be God? The monk said if you opened yourself up, you could hear the voice of God in your mind. Was that what was happening? No, that made no sense. Those monks were all full of it. Kurohiri led the group of new recruits to a small courtyard near the largest building of the city. That is where Lord Tsuchikage works, she said, pointing to the building. You'll meet him now. He's the leader of the stone village, and will command you once you become shinobi. The monk recruits lined up in the courtyard in front of the Tsuchikage building, and eventually a short old man with an oddly large nose with warts showed up. A small retinue of ninjas followed him. The old man looked at them with a half grin.
Good job, Kurohiri. This batch looks promising.
Thank you, Lord Tsuchikage. Pluck them from that temple of stone huggers. Good. He then looked at the recruits. Are you ready to harden your will until it turns to stone, lads? The small crowd was silent, and Deidara didn't know what he meant. Stones were boring, unmovable. They just sat still and never changed, never did anything. Deidara couldn't fathom a worse destiny. Living forever, sitting still. He didn't want to become a stone. That was the last thing he wanted to become. Was that old man really the leader of the village? He looked weak and stupid.
You don't look happy, lad,
the old man told Deidara, locking eyes with him. But Deidara, for some reason, wasn't scared at all, even if he may be a leader of something. Are you really the leader of this place? You look worse than those monks did, Deidara said casually. The other monk boys looked at him irritated with a sly, but Kurohiri opened her eyes wide in fear.
Don't judge people based on their look, boy.
I don't know. You don't look good at all. And this city looks trash, too. You could at least paint some buildings and stuff, you know? How do you even know where different places are if all the buildings look the same?
A shinobi village isn't meant to be a place to marvel at, but a place to build hardened stone warriors.
He doesn't understand you, the weird female voice said. And once again, Deidara looked around, seeing no one speaking to him. No, boring's bad, Deidara said eventually. He debated with the old man without a care in the world, as Kurohiri Kurohiri's face became increasingly more desperate. Deidara, that's enough. Everything is new to you, so it'll be weird in the beginning, but you'll get used to it. I don't know. You should try to make this place look a little better, at least. It's just sad.
This one has spunk.
The Tsuchikage laughed.
You will begin your training next week. Don't forget, you're not monks anymore. You will lead a life of violence.
Deidara opened a wide smile. The old man's choices for how the village looked were terrible, but at least the old man wasn't a peacemonger like those monks.
Huh, you like that, Deidara?
The Tsuchikage asked. Well, yeah, finally. I want to blow stuff up.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. But tell me, why do you keep looking around? Are you looking for something?
I guess. I heard someone speaking before, and can't find wherever or whoever it was. Deidara, no one else was speaking, Kurohiri said, but the Tsuchikage narrowed his eyes in curiosity.
Was it an ethereal female voice, lad?
The old man asked, and Deidara opened his eyes wide. He knew, but how?
It was, wasn't it? I take it back, Kurohiri. You didn't do a good job. You did an exquisite one.
She looked confused, but thanked the Tsuchikage nonetheless.
All of you except for Deidara will be taken to your new lodgings.
The old man said as he signaled to the other ninjas following him to take the others away.
Kurohiri and Deidara, with me.
Deidara looked at Kurohiri with a puzzled face, but the woman nodded, and the two followed the short old man. The Tsuchikage took them through narrow stone alleyways, and the more they walked, the fewer people they saw around. Eventually, they arrived at a completely empty place hidden behind the great stone building in the middle of the village. Large, bland stone walls surrounded them. They made Deidara feel sad. But to Deidara's surprise, Kurohiri looked confused, just like he was. The Tsuchikage weaved hand signs, and a secret passage opened itself in one of the rock walls. They entered it, and found themselves in a dark cave. The Tsuchikage motioned them to walk with them, and Deidara felt like the tunnel would go forever. The old man grabbed a green crystal that gave off light out of his vest to illuminate the way as the three walked. The teal-green glow of the crystal created strange shadows in the darkness that fascinated Deidara. For once, it was something kind of artistic, even though the old man didn't do it on purpose. Those shadows were the only interesting thing about the cave, for it had nothing on the walls other than rock itself. They walked the cave maze for over half an hour. The Tsuchikage opened over a dozen new secret passageways with his earth style in seemingly random spots in the cave. That place was a labyrinth. Yes, please, come to me. Save me from this unsightly prison, the ethereal voice said. Deidara looked at Kurohiri and the Tsuchikage. He was certain they didn't hear it, for they didn't motion a single reaction.
Heard the voice again, boy?
Deidara nodded, which made the Tsuchikage smile.
We're getting close.
Finally, the old man opened a massive gate on the rock wall of a circular antechamber room. As the stone wall opened, it revealed another but smaller chamber. A strange and bright white light came from it. The power of the light made Deidara squint after his eyes had gotten used to the relative darkness of the cave. You came, the ethereal voice said.
Yes, he did,
the Tsuchikage said. What is that? Kurohiri said. So now they could hear it as well.
Come.
The Tsuchikage motioned them to enter the next chamber, and they did. The powerful light washed over them, and Deidara's eyes finally got used to the brightness. He saw a being made out of pure light, or energy, with the silhouette of a woman. Its skin was energy itself, bright, luminous, and beautiful. Deidara couldn't help but to become mesmerized by the sheer magnitude of what he saw. This energy person was enchanting. There were dozens of glyphs written on the chamber walls to seal its movements, and the symbols themselves dwarfed the womanly figure, who couldn't be larger than Deidara himself. So this was a literal prison. What is this, Lord Tsuchikage? Kurohiri whispered to him.
That's a yokai. A yokai? They are chakra beings that ruled the world before humanity acquired chakra. There aren't many left anymore.
Chakra beings? So they're like tail beasts?
No. Each yokai represents a concept or feeling. They are made out of chakra like the tail beasts, but their nature is different. Unlike tail beasts, which we can control and seal with Jinchuriki hosts, we cannot control yokais. If we are to use their power, they must give it to us willingly.
And what do you mean by use their power? Onoki looked at Deidara. The yokai's presence still mesmerized the boy.
I captured this yokai several decades ago with my old master and imprisoned it in the depths of our village. We tried to weaponize it in every way we could, but she will only give her powers to someone she finds worthy of them.
And you think she would give Deidara her powers?
I've never seen anyone else hearing her voice in their mind. We have to give it a try.
Onoki, you brought him here because you crave my power, don't you? You you think I will give myself to this boy? The yokai asked.
You've been communicating with him. I thought you had found your match.
The woman of light looked at Deidara. What is your name? I'm Deidara. He could swear he saw a smile on her face of light. I am Roushi, the yokai of beauty. I've been in prison here for so many years. Can you please help me, Deidara? What could I even do? I apologize. I don't understand the dynamics of the human mind, even though I try my whole life to. Okay, but why did you take us here? Deidara asked, looking at the Tsuchikage.
Roushi, will you give this boy your powers?
Onoki asked. If I do that, I will cease to exist. He will be the one carrying my will.
Isn't that preferable over rotting in this place?
The longer I stay away from beauty, the weaker I become. I will eventually cease to exist regardless if I stay here.
So that is your chance to live on. Live on in this boy. You saw something in him, did you not?
Yes, he has an eye for beauty. I could feel it. I can connect my thoughts to those who can recognize true beauty. So that's why I could hear you in my mind? Yes, you were a beacon of light amidst darkness. The humans of this place, they have no eye for beauty. They are dull and bland. You, on the other hand, Deidara, you know what beauty is. So tell me, what is beauty for you? Deidara remembered himself chewing on clay and molding his dragon statuette. Art is beauty. And what is art? Deidara remembered his clay dragon shattering on the face of the old monk, and the thousands of shards erupting into a chaotic cascade. He remembered the old monk's nose breaking and his face getting cut, the blood mixing with the shards. At the moment of impact, he also remembered the paper bombs he used, the fiery ignition, the light, the chaos, the shockwave, the uncertainty and absolution coalescing in that sliver of a moment, becoming infinity. Art is an explosion. Extend your hand towards me, Deidara. The entity said. There was an odd sweetness but grief in her voice. Deidara did so, and the Tsuchikage undid the ceiling, strapping the yokai in place. Orishi's white energy hand touched Deidara's. A cosmic wave flooded his body. Deidara saw white, and he felt like every fiber of his being was exploding constantly. He saw visions, his entire life, the clay dragon, him chewing the clay, the explosion, the paper bombs, the 3 columns of fire rising up in the air, and also the weird life of this creature running away from terrors far more powerful than her, always afraid, and then running away from people. My own kind always sought to destroy me, and then the humans, they wanted to use me. I finally gave in, but you, I think you will carry my will forward, Deidara. This is the last time I will ever speak to you. Don't ever let anyone bind your art down. Seek beauty, seek infinity. I will give you the means to produce them, but after that, I will be nothing but a shadow. My essence and my dreams lie with you now. Deidara woke up disoriented. He blinked and looked around himself. His blurry vision took some time to adjust. He was laying in a bed. The room had walls made out of single piece of stone, earth-style walls. He remembered what happened to him and the weird yokai lady. Was that all a dream? Something licked his hand. That was odd. Was there a cat in bed with him? Deidara pulled his hand from beneath the bed sheets and shouted in a yelp. There was a mouth on his palm, a human mouth, and the tongue was hanging out of it. He pulled his other hand out of the sheets, and this time he managed to contain his yelp, but that hand also had a mouth. What the hell is going on? He screamed. The room's door opened with brutal speed, and a girl that looked like a tiny Kurohiri clone dashed in, holding a kunai in a battle stance. I heard screaming over here! She then locked eyes with Deidara, and her expression soured in disappointment. Mom! The mouth boy woke up! Mouth boy? Oh yeah, can you see anybody else with 3 mouths? There's no need to tease him, Kurotsuchi, Kurohiri said as she stepped into the room. A large man with a big round nose followed her in. How do you feel, Deidara? I have mouths in my hands! And other than that, I guess I'm fine, but I have mouths in my hands! Now that's good. I mean, the medical ninja said you'd be alright. And, well, the mouths are side effects. What are these freaking mouths? What do you mean
mean side effects?
Calm down, Deidara, I'll explain. Well, first, let me introduce you to these two. This is my daughter, Kurotsuchi. She gestured to the small girl who showed her tongue to Deidara in a cheeky way. She's a year younger than you, but I think you'll get along fine.
I kinda doubt that.
Kurotsuchi said, Kuro, I want you to behave, alright? Okay, Mom. And this is my husband, Kitsuchi. She gestured to the large man.
Hi, I'm Deidara.
Nice to finally meet you, young man, Kitsuchi said with enthusiasm. We will take you in, Deidara. You'll be living with us from now on, okay? Alright. Lord Tsuchikage requested us to take care of you. You have barely arrived, and yet you're one of the most important people in the village.
Because I have mouths in my hands?
Well, I guess you could say that, but it's because you carry the power of Roushi, the yokai of beauty. Remember? I do. It was crazy. Yeah, it was. You've been unconscious for 3 days.
3 days?
I didn't feel any time passing.
See, you're a freak.
Kurotsuchi said, but her mother shot her a glance, which shut her up. We're going to make sure you'll become a fine shinobi, Deidara. Next week, you'll start in the ninja academy with Kurotsuchi, and Lord Tsuchikage said he's going to eventually give you some private lessons, because, you know, you're a special guy.
What? That old fart? I don't wanna. Hey, don't call Grandpa an old fart.
Grandpa? Yes, the Tsuchikage is my father, Kitsuchi said. My bad. Don't worry, he can be severe sometimes.
Okay, but what about these mouths? I mean, what the hell is going on?
According to the doctors, they said they are part of the power of the yokai left behind. Lord Tsuchikage will probably know more about than me whenever they finish their research. They examined you thoroughly while you were unconscious, you know? And whenever they're ready, he's going to give you some private lessons so you learn how to tame this power. I wish Grandpa would give me private lessons, Kurotsuchi said with a bratty attitude. Don't worry, you'll have plenty of private lessons with Roushi. After all, you have the same affinity to magma style, and he's a great shinobi, just like your granddad. Come on, Deidara, let's have dinner. You must be famished.
Which mouth am I even supposed to eat with now?
The three burst out in laughter.
That wasn't a joke!
Well, I guess you'll have to figure it out as you go. Deidara was surprised at how welcoming Kurohiri and her family had been, feeding him nice meals with delicious meat and encouraging Deidara to create art, even though they knew nothing about it. The first day of the academy arrived soon enough. He and Kurotsuchi headed towards the academy ready for their first day.
So, tell me, can you actually taste anything with those mouths, mouth boy?
Kurotsuchi asked, pointing to his hands.
Don't call me that. I don't like the nickname.
Oh, don't worry. I'm not gonna call you that in the academy. I'm not mean. Okay. I'm not sure if I trust you.
Yeah, you can trust me. It's fine. But you taste stuff with them?
Actually, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know how to explain. I can control it and stuff, and taste as well, so washing my hands, it's kind of disgusting now. Soap doesn't taste good. What about wiping?
I don't want to talk about that, okay?
Kurotsuchi laughed. You shouldn't show those hands too much in the academy, because they're gonna tease you, alright? I suppose. But why do you care? I don't know, just looking out for you. But if you don't care, why were you upset when I called you mouth boy? I don't know. You know, I'll be stronger than you. That's why you're jealous. Huh? You have no artistic sense.
Artistic sense? I didn't say that.
Yeah, but that's what I care about. You're a weirdo, mouth boy. You're a weirdo too. How am I a weirdo?
You play with teddy bears. You saw that? You were peeping into my room?
No, you left your bedroom door open and I saw you kissing that weird fox teddy bear. It looks ugly as hell.
Foxy is cute.
It's not. Whoever made that thing had no artistic sense. It looks like a cramping weasel. Oh, shut up about artistic sense. Foxy is beautiful. No, it's not. It's the furthest thing from beautiful you could ever have. Yes, it is beautiful. Beauty is different for everyone. No, beauty is absolute.
Of course not. Different people find different things beautiful.
No, beauty is objective. If everything could be beautiful, then nothing would be truly beautiful.
Oh, really? Then who decides what's beautiful or what's not?
I do. Kurotsuchi exploded into mocking laughter. Deidara sighed. Teaching about true beauty was useless to those who couldn't recognize beauty itself. Words could never break through their ignorance. So Deidara would have to do it through actions. He would show the world what true beauty was. Art. Real, bold, revolutionary art. Deidara and Kurotsuchi started in the academy that day, and as the weeks went on, it became clear to them and to the other students that they were by far the most talented students of the class. As a matter of fact, they were the most talented students in the academy in years. During the first few weeks, Deidara learned the basics of using chakra, and Kurotsuchi was always eager to beat him. She challenged him to all sorts of games and bets, but he never accepted. Deidara wasn't interested at all in competing with her. She had no artistic sense. Competing against Kurotsuchi would be like Deidara playing shogi while she was playing rock, paper, scissors. It would just be a waste of time. Kurotsuchi was keen on winning and now competing others, but Deidara wanted to create art. They had nothing in common. During his free time, Deidara created new clay sculptures using his mouth hands instead of his regular mouth, and he started to get much better at them. However, he simply could not replicate the beauty he saw that day with the paper bombs. Sure, he could shatter the sculptures on someone's face, but that wasn't enough anymore. Not after what Kurohiri showed him with the explosive tags. It didn't matter how much he asked. Neither his academy senseis nor his foster parents would let him handle paper bombs anymore. I told you, Deidara, that was a one-time thing, alright? And you can't tell anyone that I was playing with paper bombs with you. If they find out I let a 7-year-old handle them, I'll be in trouble. Kurohiri told Deidara late at night in his room now filled with clay statuettes of all types of animals. But I'm sure I can make them work. I know you can, I saw it, but you have to be patient. You'll be able to handle them once you become a ninja. And by the looks of it, you'll graduate much earlier than most kids do. You know, the village is in need of new ninjas, so it will only take a couple of years for you and Kuro to graduate. But I want to create true art! I can't do that without paper bombs! Your sculptures are amazing, of course you can create art! It's not the same. Even if I break them, I can't see the glimpse. Glimpse? Never mind. No, tell me. You can tell me anything, Deidara. A glimpse of infinity. You can only see it for a brief moment, and it happens during something magnificent. The moment of true art. When something explodes. Exactly! Kurohiri chuckled. It's not a joke! I know, but you'll have plenty of time, Deidara. You should focus on the basics for now. Besides, Lord Tsuchikage will start his private lessons with you soon enough. Maybe you'll learn something special with him. I really doubt that. That old man has no artistic sense. Well, none of you do, but at least you are nice. That old man smells funny. Kurohiri barked in laughter, but then she looked at Deidara with affection and pinched his cheek. I'm so glad I decided to go to that temple. Sometimes the best things come after you wait a bit. Remember that. Deidara liked Kurohiri. She was great, but she didn't understand. Well, that didn't matter. She didn't have to know what Deidara was about to do. After careful days of observation, pretending he wasn't doing anything important, Deidara found out where Kurohiri and Kitsuchi kept their shinobi gear in the house. He intended to snatch a few paper bombs that night. So in the middle of the night, he snuck out of his room and tiptoed towards the adult's room. He had learned a few stealth lessons in the academy. He reached the room and slowly opened the door. For his luck, it didn't creak. Deidara looked at the bed, and Kitsuchi and Kurohiri were there sleeping. So he moved towards a small cabinet where they kept their gear. And then a hand touched Deidara's shoulder, which made him jump. He looked back and saw Kurohiri with a sleepy yet cheeky face. You really thought you could sneak past 2 jonins, Deidara? I told you, no paper bombs. I thought you were sleeping. Well, we were, but ninjas should be on guard at all times. Now, Deidara, obey Kurogiri or we're gonna have to ground you, Kitsuchi said. Alright, my bad. A few days later, Deidara made his way to a training ground in the middle of the mountains just outside of the stone village. The Tsuchikage awaited for him there. The small man hovered in the air with arms crossed, his feet a few centimeters off the ground. It was kinda cool, but it didn't impress Deidara too much. There you are, Deidara boy. Yes? I take my son and daughter-in-law haven't yet instilled you some manners, he said with a smile. Guess not. Are you gonna teach me something? Yes, the results of our research. They have come out. We used all the data we could collect from your body while you were unconscious, after you fused with Roushi. Yeah, I didn't like that. Kurohiri told me about it. We had to make sure you'd be healthy and without trauma, and we also had to understand your capabilities. After our research, we believe that those mouths in your hands were alterations Roushi made to your body, and they will allow you to emit and mull chakra in an exotic manner. Okay. Take this. The old man offered Deidara a small piece of paper. Infuse chakra into it, and when you do so, the paper will destroy itself. The manner of destruction will reveal what chakra affinity you have. Chakra affinity? Which element your chakra favors? Earth, wind, water, lightning, or fire? I'll explain it better as we go. Deidara took the paper and nodded. Cats! The paper turned itself into a small sheet of rock and then reveled in the wind. Cat? The monk mantra? It's not from the monks. Well, anyway, the results are not unexpected. The way the chakra destroy the paper indicates you have an affinity to Earth style. Now I would like to test something else. He offered Deidara another piece of paper. I want you to infuse it with chakra again, but now use your mouth hand to do it. Alright. Deidara bit the piece of paper with his hand. Cat!
that?
The paper ignited in a flash of light and exploded. It sent a small shockwave that threw Deidara and the Tsuchikage to the ground because of their proximity. The sound of the explosion echoed around the mountains, and Deidara looked at his mouth hand in absolute delight. His face was singed, and his eyebrows were obliterated. Deidara laughed. His cackling echoed around the mountains as the Tsuchikage stood up with a tired grunt, clutching his back.
My back isn't the same it used to be.
Can't do it again? Come on, give me another piece of paper.
Not yet. You have to master this power first. It's peculiar. I've never seen such a violent reaction testing chakra affinities before. I've also never seen a different result from the same person. This means those hand mouths you have possess a unique ability.
Really?
Yes. The paper explodes in extremely rare cases. Only when whoever infuses it with chakra is a prodigy in explosion style. The combination of earth and lightning styles.
I have explosion style?
Yes, but apparently you can only use them through your mouth hands.
That's amazing. The light lady was amazing.
Well, you have to learn how to control it. As you just saw, it can be a dangerous power. To this day, every single explosion style user from the village died by their own jutsu.
Wow, I wouldn't mind dying like that. The Tsuchikage punched Deidara on the top of the head.
Idiot! You have to control this jutsu, not kill yourself with it. You have the potential to become the strongest ninja of this village. This is an unforgiving world, Deidara. You have been chosen to become a powerful ninja, one that can tip the balance back to our favor.
But she chose me to show beauty in the world, not to tip balances back or whatever.
Incorrect. Regardless of what the yokai wanted, the village is everything. We carry the will of the stone. We are hard warriors. We do not bend. You can create art as a hobby, but your priority is always the stone.
Deidara didn't like that one bit. He hated stones. They were stale and boring. But he figured he should go along with the old man. After all, he was about to teach Deidara how to use those mouths of his. And so he wouldn't need paper bombs anymore to create true art. He could do it himself, exactly how he wanted, how he saw it. It was there, in his mind's eye. He would create art and beauty none other would ever surpass. The weeks passed by, and Deidara kept on going to the academy with Kurotsuchi. He also had semi-regular training sessions with the Tsuchikage. With time, Deidara learned more and more about his ability. He understood that he could create regular clay with normal earth-style ninjutsu, and then enrich it by chewing the clay with his mouth hands, infusing it with his powerful explosion-style chakra. That process changed the color of the clay, making it become lighter. The lighter it was, the more potent it became, until it turned completely white. The enrichment process took a decent amount of time, but once he was done, he had access to the explosive clay, and he could mold it to his will. He only had to chew the enriched clay once more and make it into an art piece that would sublimize itself into the ultimate art form in a violent and beautiful explosion. It was there, the glimpses. Sometimes Deidara could see them. They were elusive, but they were there. Once he refined his art to the utmost extent, he would be able to gaze into infinity, to stare it down as an equal. But he was far from that still. He had so much more to learn, but he was certain he could achieve the ultimate art, the most beautiful art ever created. Several months passed, and after a particular training session in the middle of the mountains, Deidara saw bright yellow light coming from afar, hidden between the mountains, just outside of the stone village. That piqued his curiosity, and he made his way there. He saw in the valley below Kurotsuchi training with Roushi. Deidara knew that man was a Jinchuriki of the Four Tails, some type of chakra creature that apparently wasn't like Koreshi, for that creature could still talk to him. That was weird. Deidara could not relate to that. Roushi and Kurotsuchi weaved hand signs and spat lava at a rock formation. The lava was incandescent, and Deidara could feel the heat on his face, even though he stood dozens of meters away. But that lava, Deidara detested it. It burned things slowly, like the monk burned that statuette back in the temple. And the worst part was that the lava cooled down and became solid again. That created rock, and rock simply remained dull and boring forever. He clenched his fists, and something snapped in him. The stone village was just like the lava jutsu. They bolstered their power and might as if they were hot, but in the end of the day, they were boring and dull. Kurotsuchi spat magma orbs towards the rock formation, and then Deidara realized something horrifying. The entire formation was made out of solid magma. Kurotsuchi's jutsu had created that over time, which would remain there perhaps forever. How unsightly, how disturbing. That girl had no idea what true beauty was. It was so obvious now. If Deidara didn't teach them what true beauty was through his art, then these idiots would remain blind forever. And now he could show them. He was becoming quite adept in his craft. Deidara bided his time for weeks until both Kurohiri and Kitsuchi were out on missions to enact his plan. Deidara, where's Foxy? Have you seen him? Kurotsuchi barked at him with an annoyed face. After sunset, Deidara knew exactly where Foxy was. I think Foxy went for a walk, he said with a cheeky smile. Stop playing with me! Well, it's true. He was so ugly that he had to go out and try to find some beauty for himself. Shut up! Foxy is beautiful! Where did you put him? Deidara brought his hands up and opened them wide, exposing his mouths. His 3 mouths then opened in a diabolical smile at the same time. I have no idea, he said and bolted away, leaving their home. Wait, Deidara, what did you do? Kurotsuchi yelled and ran after him. They dashed through the night streets of the stone village. Deidara jumped up, hopping on rooftops and crossing the hanging bridges that connected the large stone buildings. Get him! Someone help me, please! If anyone interferes, you'll never see Foxy again! Kurotsuchi steeled herself and picked up the pace, but Deidara was fast. She couldn't catch up to him. Deidara led her out of the village itself to a familiar location, Kurotsuchi and Roushi's training grounds. She looked around, and relief washed over her as she saw Foxy safe and sound. He sat on top of the tall magma-style formations. Deidara turned around and prevented Kurotsuchi from getting to Foxy, getting close to her. No, you can't get him right now. You have to destroy him. Use your lava. Destroy that unsightly excuse for an art piece. Are you insane? I would never do that! Oh, come on. Prove to me that your jutsu has at least a drop of beauty in it. Kurotsuchi punched Deidara across the face, which sent him flying a couple of meters to the side and cleared the way for her to reach Foxy. She jumped up the rock formation to grasp her friend, but as she was about to touch him, a large white bird swooped in and clutched Foxy with its claws, flying up and preventing Kurotsuchi from grabbing him. The bird then flew towards Deidara and began to hover close to the boy, who stood up. He spat 2 teeth covered with blood to the ground and smiled. It was about time for these teeth to fall out. Deidara, give me Foxy back right now! No, I don't think so. I gave you the chance to prove your artistic sense, but you didn't take it. That was when you sealed Foxy's destiny. Give him back right now! Kurotsuchi dashed towards Deidara and the white bird, but the bird soared upwards in a vertical line with an uncanny speed. It still carried Foxy. I told you before, and you laughed at me, but the one who decides what beauty is me. Kurotsuchi threw another punch as she reached Deidara, but this time he dodged and slid backwards, raising a cloud of dust. Now, behold, true beauty. He pointed a hand with 2 raised fingers upwards, towards the bird, which was now flying over 100 meters above them. Cats! A bright flash of light turned the night into day for a split second, bathing the stone village mountains with the beauty Deidara wanted to show Kurotsuchi. An instant later, the shockwave hit them and echoed through the mountains for what felt like hours. Deidara couldn't help but to smile. That was true beauty. He could see it. It was there, the sliver of infinity. But when he looked at Kurotsuchi, her face was a mess, and he realized he was ugly, crying. Deidara couldn't understand it. He was positive Kurotsuchi would find it beautiful, that she would thank Deidara for what he did. What's wrong? You should be happy for Foxy. Now its pathetic and unsightly existence is justified and fulfilled. It went out with a bang. It became a sliver of infinity. It was beautiful. It was true art. You killed Foxy. My mom gave him to me when I was a baby. I loved him. But it was so ugly. And its final moment, it was so worth it. It was beautiful. How can you be so evil? Kurotsuchi weaved hand signs. Her eyes were inundated with tears and hatred. Magma style. Lava wave. Kurotsuchi spat a crashing wave of molten rock. Deidara jumped up to avoid it, but Kurotsuchi had transformed the training ground into an incandescent field of death. Whenever Deidara landed, he would burn to death, so he used his hand to bite white clay from his pouch and created a large bird with almost 2 meters of wingspan that he could mount in the air. The bird wasn't particularly agile or fast, however. It was far from being a perfect art piece. Kurotsuchi weaved more hand signs. Magma style, scorching rock stream! She spat orbs of lava that flew up towards Deidara. He bit more clay with his hands and created small birds that flew towards the orbs, meeting them midair and exploding. The cascade of blasts sent thousands of molten rock drops fly in all directions. Some even burned the underbelly of the bird Deidara mounted. She really wants to kill me. Why is she so stupid? All I did was a favor. But I can't die here. I'll kill her if I have to. But after that, I'll have to flee this village forever. They would never forgive me for killing the granddaughter of the Tsuchikage. But I can fly away on this bird. They don't know I can fly, so they're not gonna look for me in the skies. Deidara thought, as more of his birds exploded against magma orbs. The only regret he had was leaving Kurohiri behind. She would be very sad, not only because Deidara would leave, but most of all because her daughter would be dead. However, Kurotsuchi was trying to kill him. It was him or her, and Deidara had no jutsu that incapacitated without killing or hurting someone severely. He launched another flock of birds down. The regular ones were now mixed with much faster birds, with wings that beat in a white blur. The normal birds clashed against Kurotsuchi's magma orbs, but the faster ones dashed down towards Kurotsuchi. She weaved hand signs and raised an earth wall. The fast birds detonated themselves, exploding the wall, but the earth shield protected Kurotsuchi. She knew Deidara was strong. He was a top student of their class, with Kurotsuchi coming in second in most shinobi disciplines, so she had to focus every ounce of her strength to win this fight. Kurotsuchi weaved hand signs to unleash more magma at Deidara. That was when a realization came to her. She was trying to kill Deidara, wasn't she? They've been living under the same roof for over a year now. Why were they fighting a death match? Because he exploded Foxy. But should she kill him because of that? No, that made no sense. But he was trying to kill her, so she had to kill him before she died. Kurotsuchi finished weaving hand signs ready to shoot more lava at Deidara. She locked her gaze at the large flying bird and concentrated to spit them faster now. His birds wouldn't be able to block them midair. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a white blot on the ground next to her, the only patch of rock that was not taken over by the magma. It was a white grasshopper, white just like Deidara's birds. Oh no, one of the birds carried the grasshopper to the ground. It was probably mounting on the bird's back so he wouldn't see it coming down, and when I made the stone wall, it jumped off so I wouldn't be able to see it again. I guess it circled around me, and when I focused on Deidara above, the grasshopper jumped, aiming itself towards Kurotsuchi's face. No, I don't have time to weave hand signs for another earth wall, she thought as tears began to form in her eyes, but they wouldn't be able to drop down her cheeks before her face was reduced to mush. I'm sorry, Kurohiri, but at least I'll give her a truly beautiful end, Deidara thought as the grasshopper was about to reach Kurotsuchi's face. Cats! Kurotsuchi closed her eyes as a grasshopper ignited into bright yellow light. She waited for the explosion to come, for her death, but it never came. When she opened her eyes, she saw a small cube made out of light hovering where the grasshopper was about to explode. The cube vanished and left behind nothing but a trace of dust. Deidara's creation was gone, wiped out of existence before it could explode. What? This never happened before, Deidara said, looking down from his bird, which hovered far above Kurotsuchi. Have you gone mad, Deidara? The Tsuchikage's voice came from behind. The drapes of his elder vest flapped in the wind as the old man flew with his arms crossed. His scowl sent a shiver down Deidara's skin. For the first time, the old man looked intimidating to him. I was just trying to show Kurotsuchi the true meaning of art, but she tried to kill me for it. I was fighting back in self-defense. The Tsuchikage weaved a hand sign and touched Deidara's chest, infusing it with chakra. In a split second, his body became dozens of times heavier than usual. He destroyed his clay bird as he fell because of his weight and plummeted to the ground, landing close to the lava field Kurotsuchi had created. He made a crater upon impact, but strangely didn't feel much pain. Swaths of clay from the bird fell nearby. Kurotsuchi, what happened here? The old man asked. She pointed at Deidara. He destroyed Foxy! His bird took him to the sky and exploded! So that was the explosion I saw from the village. I came here to see what was happening, but never thought the two of you would be locked in a death match. Deidara tried to stand up, but his body was too heavy. He could barely talk. She started the fight. I told you. He stole Foxy and killed him. What a troublesome pair. Two kids with well-developed KK Genkai powers is a recipe for disaster. I'll have to make sure they don't do anything foolish anymore. Perhaps this was just a stupid children's fight. However, Onoki thought, undoing the heavy boulder jutsu that affected Deidara. This boy, I don't know if it's because he was raised by monks or because he's just strange, but the way he thinks is unnatural.
I thought that leaving him in the care of Kitsuchi and Kurohiri would have been enough to reshape him into a Stone Village citizen, but apparently it wasn't enough. Deidara has become too much of an asset for this village, holding the power of the yokai. I must be careful to keep him loyal and satisfied with his life here, and make sure he won't cause us any damage.
The boy stood up after regaining his movements. I was doing something for her good, alright? She attacked me out of nowhere. He wasn't out of nowhere. You exploded Foxy. I was just trying to show you true art.
Silence, the two of you!
Onoki shouted, and they promptly fell silent.
Deidara, it is fine to have opinions and ideas about art and other things, but if you want to convince other people, you must go about it the correct way. Kurotsuchi loved that toy, and you destroyed it. Can you not understand how bad it would make her feel?
But it was so ugly.
It doesn't matter. She felt another way about it. How would you feel if someone destroyed something you love?
Well, it depends on how it's destroyed. Onoki sighed in frustration.
Most people will not share your view on beauty and art, and you must respect them, especially people from the Stone Village and the Land of Earth. Even though you may have the yokai of beauty in you, it doesn't make you the owner of the truth on beauty itself.
Deidara scowled.
And you, Kurotsuchi, I know how angry you must have felt, but Deidara is a comrade of the Stone Village, and you tried to kill him. You must never do that. Lashing out in anger without thinking is a fast way to ruin, especially against an ally.
Kurotsuchi scowled as well.
Also, Deidara, you could have just fled the battle by flying away, and yet you decided to attack her back. You must also remember Kurotsuchi's a comrade of the stone. You've been living under the same roof for over a year now. You shared meals. I expect you two to respect each other.
If I can't show the world my art, then what's the point of training to become a ninja?
The Stone Village. We are the point. The continuation of our people, our traditions, and our land.
That's not really something I care about.
What about your new family then? Do they mean nothing to you?
Deidara remembered Kurohiri's sweet smile as she told him how glad she was for founding him in that temple. Freeing him from that terrible place was all because of her, and Deidara felt ashamed, lowering his head. Sorry. I'll only forgive you if you give me a new plushie. I can do that, I think.
Yes, of course you can, Deidara. Now, shake hands.
The two kids obeyed Onoki and made peace with each other.
I won't tell your parents about this little fight, so I don't want it to repeat itself, alright?
The two kids nodded.
As for your art, Deidara, once you become a ninja, you will be going on missions. As the Tsuchikage, I am the one assigning them, so I will make sure you will have plenty of opportunities to show your art to the world.
Alright then, that's a deal. The next morning, after Kurohiri and Kitsuchi arrived from their mission, Deidara confessed to his foster mother. I destroyed Kurotsuchi's toy. I told her, I'm sorry, but I need to buy a new one for her. Kurohiri smiled. She talked to me about that too. We have to go choose a new one, Deidara. Yeah. Kurohiri took him to the Stone Village street market. There were several stalls on each side of the street selling all sorts of products from foods to clothes to toys. And unbeknownst to Deidara, 3 stone Anbu followed them. Onoki had assigned an Anbu cell to watch over Deidara and make sure he wouldn't cause any further problems. They dressed as civilians to blend with the crowd, but Kurohiri was aware of their presence. Onoki told him and Kitsuchi about the new safety policy. Why didn't you get mad? Deidara asked Kurohiri as they looked at a stall that sold toys. Mad? Yeah, about me destroying the plushie. Well, of course I was mad, but you felt remorse and apologized. If you learn from your mistakes, that's what it counts. Some people will like things you don't. Kurotsuchi loved Foxy. You may not have liked him, but you have to understand Kurotsuchi's feelings. And now that you do, I am glad. Okay, thank you. So which one do you think Kuro will like best? Kurohiri said as they looked at the plushies on the stall. Deidara looked carefully at them, peering with his artistic eye. Perhaps he could show Kurotsuchi what art really was this way, and he found it. That one! He's beautiful, Kurotsuchi said with a blush. Deidara gave her her new plushie. It was a white fox, much more elegant and well-crafted than the previous atrocity. I will call him Shiroki. Kurotsuchi hugged her new toy as Kurohiri and Kitsuchi smiled, watching over the two. That was good. At least she could recognize things that were more beautiful than others. Deidara picked that specific plushie because it reminded him of his own creations. The only problem was that it didn't explode. With that, and the old man's promise that Deidara would be able to use his art a lot. When he became a ninja, he became optimistic and excited about the prospect of becoming a shinobi. It was as though the fight Deidara had with Kurotsuchi brought him closer to her and to the village as well. Strange how those things worked. Because of that, Deidara and Kurotsuchi began to practice and spar together a few times a week. They didn't fight each other with the intention to kill, but it was good training. He could improve his art in a more active, high-stakes scenario, and they also trained in the mountains. Always watched over by the three-man Anbu team who used spyglasses to peer at Deidara and what he was doing from a mountain nearby the training area. Whenever Kurotsuchi's magma style hardened, Deidara destroyed it with his art. He didn't like the idea of her creations lasting forever. The only problem with his training was that Deidara could hardly ever see a true glimpse of infinity. It was as if the better he got with his art, the more difficult it became to peek at the fleeting infinity of his explosions, so he craved more. He needed to become a ninja. That was the only way to fulfill his artistic purpose. Nevertheless, Deidara for once in his life was patient. He finally realized that his situation was so much better in the stone village than it used to be in the temple with the monks, that complaining about it just didn't make sense. His foster family was also a benefit he never had in the temple, so he trained and practiced his art, always leading the grade and scores in the Ninja Academy, with Kurotsuchi coming in second. Did you see they were probably gonna get promoted to Genin without even a test? Kurotsuchi told later after a long training session in the early evening. She passed him her water canteen. Really? Where did you hear about that? Deidara grabbed the canteen and took a long sip. I overheard mom and dad talking about it. They thought I was sleeping. Lucky you. What do you mean? That you only overheard that when they thought you were sleeping. What? Never mind. But this is good. I thought we would only get the promotion when we were 12. Yeah, most times it's like that. But apparently Grandpa doesn't like the idea of keeping us in the academy. Apparently we're too good for it. The old man is not as dumb as I thought he was, huh? What? Grandpa isn't dumb. I know, I was joking. Kurotsuchi punched Deidara's shoulder. I know you were. What was that punch for? Just making you a little mad. Deidara scowled and tossed the canteen back to Kurotsuchi. When she was about to catch it, he smirked. Cats! The canteen popped, splashing Kurotsuchi with water for Deidara's glee. What? You're gonna pay for that, okay? But Deidara kept on laughing, and eventually Kurotsuchi laughed with him. When did you even put an explosive in the canteen? When you're focused on punching me. I slipped in a small clay sand dweller. They can crawl very well and fit through small spaces. Of course, they wasn't even close to as powerful as it could create them. What if I drank it? It would have exploded my stomach. That's why it popped it before you even cut the canteen, you moron. Well, how kind of you. At least if we became ninjas earlier, I could start using my art to the fullest as well. What do you mean? Sparring and destroying objects is just not doing it. A true explosion can't just be a pretty flash of light with a shockwave. It has to be something real, with real impact. Are you saying you want to explode other people? Well, yeah, I guess. But only if they're enemies of the Stone Village, of course. I mean, ninjas have to kill people, right? We're gonna have to do it. Might as well do it in an elegant and artistic way, right? I guess. Never thought of that really, but it's dark. Nah, it's alright. Anyway, what do you want for your birthday, Deidara? My birthday? I don't have a birthday. The monks never bothered to record when I was born, or who my parents were. Kurotsuchi pouted, but then her face beamed. So we can set your birthday for today. Let's go celebrate. What? No, that's so random. Come on. She grabbed him by the hand and ran across the village. What do you want to eat? It's your birthday. Steak. Rare. All right then. Kurotsuchi took Deidara into the Stone Village Steakhouse. How are you even gonna pay for this? Mommy, give you money. You've been living with us for so long, but we never celebrated your birthday. Well, it's because I don't know my birthday. Now we do. It's today. Kurotsuchi smiled, and they both dug in. Do you think we're gonna be in the same Genin squad? Deidara asked. Why? You wanna be on the same squad as me? Well, yeah, we have good teamwork and all. We're pretty much siblings at this point. Kurotsuchi blushed. Really? You think so? Yeah. Well, Kurotsuchi stood up and hugged him tight. Alright then. We're gonna be in the same team, bro. I just know it. Stop squeezing me like that. A few days later, Deidara was elevated into the Genin rank. He received his Stone Village headband and was assigned to a squad. Kurotsuchi was in it, alongside Akatsuchi, a fat and tall boy that was in an older class of students in the academy and was apparently the #1 student there. Deidara was about 11 years old, Kurotsuchi was 10, and Akatsuchi was 12. The three waited for their Jonin sensei to arrive in one of the academy rooms, when a short man with red hair, purple clothes, and traditional armor plates walked into the room. Master Roushi! Kurotsuchi said excitedly. excited. Yes, I was selected to be your sensei. My name is Roushi. We'll begin our missions tomorrow.
I'm Kitsuchi.
Deidara, the other two introduced themselves. So Lord Tsuchikage put the three most talented prospects of the academy together, as he told me, Roshi thought, nodding at them. The Stone Village had a different philosophy from the Leaf when it came to forming new Genin squads. They put together academy students of similar level instead of balancing them out. This created extremely powerful teams, as well as very weak ones. With Master Roshi training us, I'm gonna become Tsuchikage in no time, Kurotsuchi told Deidara as they walked home. He was already training you. Yeah, but now that I'm a ninja, the training's gonna be much more intense. Why do you even want to be Tsuchikage for? I want everyone to be happy. I want this village to be a good place. If I'm Tsuchikage and can do that, that's my dream. How noble. What about you, Deidara? What's your ninja goal? Magnum Infinity. What? It's a name I came up with. My art will surpass all other art in the world. It won't be only a glimpse that I see, but infinity to the fullest. A magnum bang. How do you do that? By making my ninjutsu the ultimate art form.
Your first mission will be to go to the Land of Crystals and destroy Hazeshi Bridge. Deidara, your talents will be especially important, but you cannot be seen doing that. No one can know stone ninjas were destroying bridges there.
Onoki told Deidara and his team in the Tsuchikage Stoned Wall office. Oh, wow. And why are we destroying this bridge, Lord Tsuchikage? Akatsuchi asked.
The reason is irrelevant. Your duty is to fulfill the mission I assign you, understand?
Yes, sir. The fat boy lowered his head. Deidara smiled. He loved the idea of destroying a bridge, a symbol of permanence, of stability. The highest point of that bridge would be when Deidara unleashed its art upon it. Only then the bridge would achieve beauty. I mean, I don't get the point of destroying a bridge. Really, Gramps? That's our first mission? It's kinda boring, Kurotsuchi said.
Don't misunderstand. There's a possibility you will encounter leaf ninjas near the bridge. If that happens, you must eliminate them without leaving any traces behind. This is a B-rank mission, much higher than anything most Genins ever get. I am assigning it to you because I expect great things from this team. Do not disappoint me.
That bridge is the most important trade route between the Land of Crystals and the Land of Fire. This is a covert attack against the interests of the Leaf. Destroying the bridge would halt trade between the Land of Crystals and Land of Fire, and force them to rely much more on the Land of Earth for trading, increasing the Land of Earth's influence on the Land of Crystals. Perhaps Lord Tsuchikage is slowly trying to annex the Land of Crystals, bringing them further away from the Leaf. This could start another war, but perhaps now that the Yellow Flash is dead, Lord Tsuchikage feels more confident. But still, starting a war now wouldn't be good. That's why we cannot be seen destroying that bridge, Roshi thought. It will be done, Lord Tsuchikage. I will take good care of these three, Roshi said with a nod. A few days later, Deidara and his team reached the location of the bridge. They traveled covertly through the Land of Crystals until their destination. We wait here until the cover of the night to destroy the bridge. That way, no one will be around to see it, and no civilians will be caught in the blast, Roshi said. And so they did, camping about 2 kilometers away from the bridge until 2 a.m. Alright, let's move silently. Deidara, prepare your jutsu. Once the bridge falls, we bolt away, Roshi said, and the others nodded. Deidara bit into the chakra-enriched clay with his mouth hand. They chewed on it, and Deidara created 2 birds. They moved silently through the forest, until Kurotsuchi whispered, "There it is!" pointing at the bridge. It was about 100 meters long, a suspension bridge that crossed a wide river below. Deidara tossed his birds and weaved a hand seal. They expanded midair and darted towards the bridge, each one aimed at an opposite end of the structure. They barely made any noise through the air. Cats! The 2 birds ignited at the same time, and the bridge fell, dislodged from its edges, falling to the river below. Deidara smiled. He glimpsed it. The bridge was no more. Its final moment was worth its existence. "Let's go," Roshi said. But before they could run away, fire beams erupted from far away in the middle of the forest, cruising the air towards them. Roshi weaved hand signs and touched the ground. Earth wall! A piece of the ground rose to block the fire. "What was that?" Akatsuchi asked. "They found us. Ready yourselves," Roshi said, and Deidara began to chew on clay with his hands. "But how do they pinpoint us? We were so careful. Deidara even uses silent birds," Kurotsuchi said. "They might have a sensory type. We need to get to open terrain. Follow me," Roshi said, weaving more signs and leaving the forest. A shadow appeared from their left, and Roshi spat an orb of lava towards it, but the figure rotated with chakra and blocked the lava attack, sending it in shards to all directions. Deidara and his team arrived to more open terrain when they heard another attack coming. Fang over fang! 2 small vortices streaked towards them, but Akatsuchi created an earth golem to block it, taking damage, but withstanding the blows, it stopped the enemy's rotation. It was a man and a dog. Deidara rushed the dog and struck its sting with a palm strike. At the same time, Kurotsuchi landed an earth-style fist to the man's face. They were launched backwards. The dog slid on the ground after Deidara's not-so-powerful blow, but the man fell with his face bleeding and the dog prevented him from hitting a tree. The enemy squad regrouped around their wounded comrade. Deidara put his hands back into his clay pouches. The fallen man stood up, helped by a teenage girl of the enemy team. His face was a bloody mess, but his eyes burned in angry determination. 4 leaf ninjas faced Deidara and his squad from about 30 meters away in the middle of rocky open terrain near the river margin. All enemies wore green leaf vests and the characteristic headband. The cold wind hit Deidara's face, flapping his blonde hair, and he looked at the enemy captain. His eyes were disgusting. Himoto Hyuga and Shiryo Sarutobi, Roushi said, narrowing his eyes. The Hyuga was a middle-aged man, and the Sarutobi was in his 30s. Roushi of the magma style, Himoto Hyuga said, peering at him with his Byakugan. Stay sharp. This man is the Jinchuriki of the Four Tails, he told his squad. This bastard! Shiryo Sarutobi spat in disgust. You fought him? The man with the dog asked, and spat blood on the ground. No, but he killed many of my friends in the war. You didn't fight too much there, Kazuka. You wouldn't understand. This bastard! Shiryu, focus. He's strong. The old Hyuga, who was the captain, told the Sarutobi. I see. With a Hyuga and an Inuzuka, you would track us very swiftly after our attack, and pinpoint us with the Sarutobi long-range fire strikes, Roshi said. Don't forget about me. I'm Kanashi Shimura. Remember my name! The 4th member of the Leaf Ninja Squadron yelled. She was a girl no older than 15, the youngest of her squadron. Kurotsuchi scowled at her. You better shut up, because I'm— Silence! Roshi bellowed. Kurotsuchi, you can't say your name here. If they find out you're the daughter of the Tsuchikage, they will come for you first, Roshi thought. Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi tensed up after Roshi's scream. Himoto Hyuga noticed that and smirked. Are you stupid, Roshi? Bringing infants to the battlefield? Surrender now, and they live. Why do your eyes look so ugly? Deidara sat with a scowl, staring at the Byakugan, and the Hyuga was taken aback by how relaxed he was. That's a Byakugan, Deidara. It allows him to see chakra through solid objects, and also all around him. It looks disgusting. Look at that thing. Shut up, child. The Hyuga are the mightiest of the Leaf. There's no jutsu more honorable and elegant than the Byakugan. Deidara's eyes bulged out wide in anger. You think that atrocious thing in your face is art? Calm yourself, Deidara, Roshi said. You should have taught the kids some manners, Four Tails. Surrender. We'll take you as a prisoner, and the children will be treated well. I can't promise the same to you, though. You wish to capture a Jinchuriki. I assure you that Tsuchikage will consider this an act of war. Oh, so destroying the bridge isn't. The bridge is not in the land of fire. Of course the fence-sitter of the stone would try to find a loophole like that. You stone ninja old scum! Let's kill them all, Captain! The Sarutobi ninja shouted as the Inuzuka prepared himself with his dog. The Hyuga narrowed his eyes, sizing Roshi up. I can see everything with these eyes. I know it's over for you, Four Tails. You weren't supposed to be spotted on this mission. Now, if you fight, you'll have to protect the kids, which won't work. They will die regardless, and so will you after failing them. I've heard enough, Deidara said, stepping forward and standing in front of his team. Sensei, let me have them. Are you crazy? Those two are war veterans! Kurotsuchi pointed at the Hyuga and the Sarutobi. She's right, Deidara. Those two are Jonins, and the other two are Chunins. You're just a Genin. Are you sure about that? Of course I am. My ninjutsu is true, refined, and noble art. I would never lose to those unsightly eyes. You got guts, boy, the Hyuga smirked, and Roshi sighed. Very well, then. Sensei, you can't be serious! Deidara can't take them all by himself! Kurotsuchi protested. Roshi remembered a conversation he had with the Tsuchikage. Roshi, keep this in mind. Deidara is a weird one. He's strong for his age, unnaturally so, but his personality is wild. I trust you to keep him happy and focused during your missions, so let him use his explosions as much as possible and as he pleases. If he wishes to do something you would consider to be insane, do your best to allow him, and make sure you're able to help him if things go wrong. He's a great asset to the village, and if he is happy and practicing his art, then we shall have access to the full power he has to offer us. And if we don't, I am afraid he might become a powder keg too powerful to contain. Go ahead, Deidara, Roushi told him. You two stay focused and be ready to help Deidara at any moment.
But Sensei, he can die!
Kurotsuchi said. That's why you have to focus to protect him. You can only be out of your mind, Roushi, the Hyuga said.
I'll kill him! I'll kill them all! And they'll pay for what they did in the war!
The Sarutobi shouted. Calm yourself, Shiryu. We must approach this fight with care, even if we're just fighting a boy in the beginning. Kazuka, lead the charge with your Inuzuka taijutsu. We'll support you from behind. I have nothing against you, boy, but you gotta do what you gotta do, the Inuzuka said, but Deidara sneered at that comment. Cocky, huh? Not for long, boy. Fang over fang! The Inuzuka man and his dog erupted into a spin and arc towards Deidara. Cats! The flying dog exploded into a fiery cloud of blood. The Inuzuka, who was close to his dog, canceled his rotation and stared at the hovering cloud in utter desperation. Ikimaru! He shouted, but couldn't even finish his roar, for a white bird cruised the red cloud, staining itself crimson, and appeared to Kazuka. It crashed against him and exploded, creating a second cloud of blood that hovered 10 meters above the ground. Deidara marveled at his creations. They exploded in the air before they could even reach Deidara, and he looked at the other 3 leaf ninjas, smiling. His face contrasted theirs, for they were absolutely horrified. You're gonna pay for what you did! The Sarutobi shouted and motioned to rush Deidara, but the Hyuga contained him. Calm yourself, or you'll end up like Kazuka. This boy's no joke. You should rejoice. Their ending was a sublimation of all their moments. There's no nobler death than dying with an explosion. Shut up, you psychopath! Calm yourself, the Hyuga said, peering at Deidara with his Byakugan. He uses explosive projectiles. I used a kunai to intercept that bird he tossed against Kazuka, but he dodged with an aerial maneuver, and the bird was pretty fast. Kazuka didn't even see it coming, but I didn't see him throwing anything against Ikimaru to explode him. That's strange, the Hyuga thought. Unbeknownst to him, Deidara had slipped a sand dweller into the dog's mouth when he struck it with his palm. The sand dweller lodged itself in the dog's stomach and exploded from within when Deidara commanded to. Deidara is amazing and terrifying, Kurotsuchi thought, looking at him. He bit into more clay with his hands. Who's next? We have to be careful. Use formation 4, the Hyuga said, but the girl recoiled back. She was trembling in fear. Man up, Shimura! This is no time to be a coward! The Sarutobi screamed. She took her katana out of her scabbard, but the blade wobbled. Don't worry, this will be over in a bang. Deidara spat a dozen small grasshoppers from his hands. They jumped towards leaf ninjas. Earth style, mud wave! The Sarutobi spat a surge of mud towards the grasshoppers, but they jumped high, avoiding it. Mud wall! The Sarutobi erected a wall in front of his team, but the grasshoppers hopped over it. The 3 leaf ninjas were forced to scatter, leaving the wall cover, as the grasshoppers landed on the other side, exploding it and destroying the erected wall. With the 3 leaf ninjas now split, Deidara tossed a barrage of small clay spiders hurling through the air towards the Hyuga and exploded them in quick succession. The flashy explosions blinded the Hyuga for a split second, that Deidara used to send a clay centipede into the ground without him seeing it with his weird eyes. Fire style! Fire dragon bullets! The Sarutobi spat a continuous blast of fire towards Deidara, who moved out of the way, but the fire hit his shoulder, burning away the sleeve and singeing his flesh. His right arm burned, and Deidara winced in pain, but sent fast clay bursts towards the Sarutobi in exchange, who erected another mud wall. The Hyuga recovered his eyesight and rushed Deidara. Before he could reach him though, Deidara's birds flew around the mud wall, forcing the Sarutobi to jump away and avoid the explosive strikes. But he didn't know Deidara had a lot of practice countering mud walls, thanks to his training with Kurotsuchi. The Sarutobi avoided the fast birds, but a clay grasshopper mounted each of them. They used the birds' backs to propel themselves towards the Sarutobi midair and exploded, reducing the leaf ninja into minced meat. Bastard! The Hyuga screamed, reaching Deidara and swinging his gentle fist at him. Crap, I got distracted, Deidara thought, as the Hyuga was about to strike him. But an earth wall rose off the ground between Deidara and the Hyuga. The older man struck the wall, cracking it with his palm, but Deidara jumped back, using that chance to disengage. It was Kurotsuchi's jutsu that saved Deidara from that blow. She got worried after the fire hit his arm, so she was the first one to intervene. When Deidara stopped moving, however, the ground behind him cracked, and the Shimura girl emerged from it, sword already swinging at him. But the ground cracked behind the girl herself, and Deidara's centipede, much larger than he was when he sent it into the ground, emerged and wrapped itself around the girl, immobilizing her completely before she could finish her swing. No, please don't kill me!
me!
She screamed with tears and snot dripping down her face. Deidara jumped away from her and smiled, staring right into her desperate eyes. Become infinity. Cats! The centipede wrapping her exploded and sent slimy bits of her body into all directions. I surrender! Okay, I surrender! The Hyuga shouted. He had been using his gentle fist strikes to destroy Earth-style projectiles Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi were lobbing at him to make sure the Hyuga wouldn't reach Deidara again. Sorry, but the old man told us to take no prisoners. Deidara said, spitting more grasshoppers that rushed the Hyuga. He used his rotation to block the explosions as they jumped and detonated themselves against him, but Deidara was expecting that. He couldn't move while spinning like that, so Deidara used that time to create one large bird and sent it flying at the Hyuga. He didn't even stop the rotation and try to jump away. The moron believed it's strong enough to withstand an explosion from one of his most powerful art pieces. Cats! Deidara's final bird ignited, reducing the Hyuga and his rotation into nothingness, leaving only a crater where the fool had been spinning. Deidara felt elation. So many glimpses, so much art. His art! It prevailed over that unsightly eye. His ninjutsu was the answer. No one had art better than his. Lord Tsuchikage was right about Deidara. He really is special, Roushi thought. Deidara, your arm! Kurotsuchi said. She was genuinely concerned. It's alright, I don't mind the pain. His arm was burned up and red. Bits of singed flesh and skin hanged off of it. The pain was something Deidara could forget, not care about. His art was what mattered. Roushi weaved hand signs. He stuck his hands on the ground, and the terrain around them shifted and remolded itself, burying the many pieces of body scattered around and erasing the vestiges of battle. Very well, now let's go. A few days later, a medic ninja healed Deidara's arm in the Stone Village Hospital. Kurotsuchi and Kurohiri were with him for support, even though Deidara didn't need it. Deidara, you're too reckless. I don't know how Master Roshi even let you do that, Kurotsuchi said. That is true, Deidara. You should be more careful, especially on missions like that, where you're facing enemy ninjas, Kurohiri said. Everything was under control. Besides, what's the point of art if it's not bold and you don't have to take any risks? You don't have to always be bold. You're lucky you'll make a full recovery. That one was nasty, Kurohiri said, looking at him like a worried mother. You two have to look after each other, you know? You're in the same squad. I did! I protected Deidara! Oh, that slap was not gonna kill me. A Hyuga slap is not something to dismiss. It can shut down your chakra and strike internal organs. He's one with infinity now, it doesn't matter. Deidara, you killed all those guys, and when you did it, it was as though you've been doing this for a long time. I don't know how you can do that. You didn't even flinch, Kurotsuchi said. Killing is part of shinobi life, Kuro. It's tough, but it's something you have to do to protect your family, friends, and the village. But it was so brutal. The way they all exploded. I gave them a perfect ending that sublimized their existence into one perfect moment. In that moment, they were infinite. They didn't even feel anything. They died in a flash. It's much more elegant and aesthetic than if you use your lava on them. Imagine them dying slowly, consumed by it. So unsightly. That is why my ninjutsu is the highest form of art. Oh, shut up! My magma's really cool. Not as cool as my art. Team Roshi went on many missions. Most of them are rather dangerous, and certainly above the level of regular Ginins. Onoki made sure their missions would suit Deidara's powers, and that he could use many explosions. He was truly happy about that. The contrast between his life now as a ninja and his life in the temple was stark. He felt like he had freedom, he could practice his art, he could glimpse infinity, and Deidara was always seeking to improve his craft, creating new pieces, increasing the power of his explosions. A few months later, foreign ninjas began to flock into the Stone Village. They were from many villages such as Waterfall, Hot Spring, Snow, and surprisingly, Cloud. Deidara grouped with his squadron that day, and before he could even ask questions, Roshi explained. The Stone Village will be holding a joint Chunin exams next week. I have recommended the three of you to participate. Oh, that's exciting! Akatsuchi said. Yes, becoming a Chunin is gonna make me even closer to becoming Tsuchikage. Kurotsuchi pumped her fists. I don't really care about my ranking. Why should I even bother? Deidara wasn't as excited as the other two. If you become a Chunin, Gramps will send you more dangerous missions so you can use even more explosions, Deidara. You should try it, Kurotsuchi told him, and he smiled. Well, then I guess we have to pass these exams. Deidara, one more thing. Lord Tsuchikage wishes to speak with you in private before the exams, Roshi said. Huh? What does the old geezer want? Would you stop referring to Lord Tsuchikage that way? Regardless, he wishes to speak to you. Get ready. The Chunin exams are difficult. Even if you're performing well in your missions, it doesn't mean you'll pass. A week later, Deidara, Kitsuchi, and Kurotsuchi left the room where they took the written exams with all other 200 candidates. They passed without an issue. That was easy peasy. I told you I'm gonna be Tsuchikage in no time, Kurotsuchi said. Well, almost every single team passed the written test, so it's not as though we did something too special, I think, Kitsuchi said. Oh, come on, don't be so pessimistic. No, I'm not, seriously. Something's definitely off. The written exams, well, they're supposed to cut off at least 70% of the candidates, and only about 10% were eliminated this time. Maybe we're just the golden generation after all. No, I think there's something hidden here. We just don't know what it is. Deidara chuckled at that conversation. What's going on, Deidara? That old geezer. He's great. What? Are you saying Gramps made the tests easier so we can all pass? No, of course not. The next day, all the candidates that qualified were at a barren field about 20 kilometers away from the Stone Village itself. A Stone Village ninja proctor addressed them. In the second task, you will go into the barren fields. There, each squadron must capture 2 crystals. 1 red, 1 blue. The crystals will be randomly spread around. They will emit a beacon of light randomly as well, so you can identify their location and battle for them. You may also capture crystals from other teams after they were already claimed. You have 5 days to do that. Once the time's over, we will blow our whistles and you must stop fighting. They all had to sign a waiver stating that whatever happened to them during the second test was their own responsibility, and the Stone Village would have no fault in case of injury or death. But all candidates seemed happy enough to do so, and Deidara smiled, looking at the line of people signing the waiver. What's going on, Deidara? No, nothing. Nothing at all. Deidara and his team rushed through the barren fields. We should stay out of sight of the other teams. Let's hunt for the crystals tomorrow. For tonight, let's hunker down and wait, Deidara said. Why? You should attack now! No, the stronger teams will go for the crystals today, but we have 5 days. That's not like you, Deidara, being patient. I just really want to become a Chunin. Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi agreed and carved a hole into a small hill using earth style so they could spend the night. They ate the rations they brought into the task. I will leave the cave and do some scouting, Deidara said. Is that necessary? None of us are sensory types. I'll make sure no hostiles are around us during the night, alright? You're not resting? I'll be fine. Deidara left the cave and walked 100 meters away from it. He then created a large bird he mounted and took into the starry sky. However, scouting was not his goal. He had a secret mission to fulfill. Deidara, I have a special assignment for you during the Chunin exams, the Tsuchikage told him in his office during their private meeting a few days prior. I thought I was just supposed to pass the exams. Your results don't matter. I will promote you and the others in your team regardless of it. I am giving you another task, but you have to keep this one a secret. And what is this mission? He'll be exploding many things. Deidara smiled. Really? Yes. The first test of the exams will be exceptionally easy, designed to advance almost all contestants into the second round. And this is where I'll need to use your art. For the first time in many years, we are holding a joint exam with another of the 5 great villages, the Cloud. They'll bring 81 ninjas in 27 squads, and you will eliminate all of them. Weakening one of the 5 greats in terms of military capability as well as political capital in the eyes of prospective clients is fundamental and will give us an immense advantage against them. If we wipe out 81 of their most talented youths, that will mean our ninja services will be used far more often. Not only will they be weaker and less threatening to us, but if the clown ninjas are perceived as inept, more clients will flock to the stone. I don't care about the politics, geezer. What do I have to do? During the second exam, beacons of light will rise into the sky and teams will flock there to capture crystals. You must fly above them and bombard the clown ninjas, killing them all. You will do it the first night. I'll make sure all the beacons activate in sequence. He'll make it easier for you to locate all the clown ninjas. Make an excuse to the others on your team, and make sure they don't see what you're doing. Onoki handed him a strange gadget. I had this tailor-made for you. It goes over the eye and magnifies your vision up to 40 times. It will be a perfect tool for the job. Deidara tried out the gadget. So you made the first test easy so I can explode more people in the second one. You're actually a considerate old man. You can call it that, or you can call it maximizing our gains. Just be careful not to catch any stone ninjas in the bombardments. And also don't eliminate any ninjas from the other villages if you can help it. It is important to keep them on our leash and somewhat happy. Sure thing. Once Deidara rose up about a kilometer in the sky, he put on his eye gadget. It didn't take long for the thin ribbons of light to start appearing in the distance. Deidara wouldn't have needed a gadget to spot those, but he used it to look for the cloud Genins. Just like moths flocking to a flame, many of them were headed straight to the beacons. Deidara smiled and launched his clay birds. On that night, death came from the sky to the young cloud ninjas. Without warning, without mercy, Deidara's silent birds beamed down and exploded, systematically eliminating the cloud ninjas. If Deidara was a painter, the cloud ninjas were his ink, and the battleground was his canvas. Flashes of light dotted the exam grounds as Deidara's explosives destroyed team after team. He spent the entire night eliminating the cloud ninjas. When the sky began to show the first signs of sunlight, Deidara had eliminated 74 out of the 75 cloud ninjas that passed the written test. I guess one escaped me. He must have caught on. Now I doubt he'll show himself until the end of the exam, Deidara thought. He managed to collect both crystals during his night mission and returned to the cave. Where the hell were you? Kurotsuchi asked with worry in her voice. Deidara showed his palms. One mouth hand was biting a red crystal, the other one a blue. I was passing the exam for us. Saw the opportunity and took it. Now I just have to lay low. Awesome! How'd you do it? Akatsuchi asked. Well, it involved explosions. Of course he did. Deidara looked for the remaining cloud ninja a few times until the end of the exams, but couldn't find him. On the 5th day, the examiners blew whistles around the battlegrounds to signify the end of the exam. Once the participants regrouped, their numbers had been reduced to less than half, and only one cloud ninja was there, a blonde kunoichi. The Raikage had come to the stone village in order to watch the final round, but he became furious and lashed out on the Tsuchikage in front of the surviving contestants. What is the meaning of this, Tsuchikage? What have you done to my ninja? Calm yourself. It is not my fault your shinobi were incompetent. It's impossible that the only cloud ninja to survive was Samui! He pointed at the blonde girl. Come here! The girl stepped forward as the Raikage's assistants attempted to calm him down. As a side note, I am making Samui 10 years younger than she is in the original, so she'll be 19 in Naruto Shippuden, same age as Deidara. What happened here? The Raikage demanded. I don't know exactly, Lord Raikage. I just saw many of our teams being targeted with explosions. I sought shelter and remained there for the duration of the exams. Her words were frigid, lacking any emotion. That's it! You'll pay for this, fence-sitter! The Raikage motioned to attack the Tsuchikage, but Mabui, his assistant, touched his arm in a gesture to stop him. Please, Lord Tsuchikage, don't start a war over this. There will be retribution, Onoki! For what? Your ninjas signed a waiver. Whatever happened to them was their fault alone. You bastard! Lord Raikage, let's leave, please. They eventually did. The Raikage left with the last survivor of the cloud. They wouldn't participate in the final round. Onoki promoted Deidara, Kurotsuchi, and Akatsuchi into Chunin without even the need to participate in the third round of the exams. It made no sense to reveal the powers of the three most talented prospects of the village for the entire world to see, especially when it came to Deidara. He was simply too useful, a generational talent. Deidara, Kurotsuchi said, as they were alone at home, were you the one who killed all those cloud ninjas? The girl talked about explosions. I can't talk to you about that. So it was you! Why did you do that? When you left that night, I knew something was up. You were away for too long, and you came back exhausted. Why did you kill them like that? I was given a mission, alright? What? Why? I don't ask questions. I just fulfilled the mission with my art. You should talk to your grandpa about it. Kurotsuchi's world seemed to be shattered that day. She didn't understand why Onoki would tell Deidara to go and destroy so many people from one particular village. But Deidara didn't pay much thought. He just had to keep going, fulfilling his missions, using his art, and improving his craft. Onoki kept on sending Deidara to dangerous missions where his abilities would be well suited. Sometimes with a squadron, but many times Deidara just went on those missions by himself. His exploits quickly landed a promotion to Jonin at the age of 13, the youngest promotion to that rank in the history of the village. Deidara didn't care about the ranking, however. He only cared about improving his art, making sure no ninjutsu could ever surpass him in elegance, aesthetics, beauty, and nobility. A few months after his Jonin promotion, Deidara had infiltrated an underground base for highly wanted criminals in the land of Earth. He managed to get himself hired as an errand boy by a powerful criminal, and his mission was to eliminate about a dozen of the most notorious underground lords of the land of Earth. On that evening, Deidara worked as a sort of butler, serving drinks and food to guests, as per his contractor's request. They were receiving a multitude of other criminals for a yearly summit they held. All crime lords had had ninjas escorting them, and for some reason, they were all from the Rain Village. Obviously, nobody knew Deidara was a ninja as well. The crime lords ate and drank, talking about several different things, including business deals and criminal partnerships. Deidara kept on serving them, but one particular thing caught Deidara's attention. One conversation. I heard one of the monks achieved a great passing. He remembered the monks talking about that. A great passing. He never knew what it was and never cared about it, but now for some reason he was curious. Really? Those are difficult to do. I'm happy our monks are still fulfilling their spiritual duties, an older crime lord said. Well, I don't really care. I just find it amusing, you know. They changed subjects after that, but Deidara just couldn't let it go. He walked to that table and offered more drinks, which they gladly accepted. Excuse me, but you said something about a great passing? What does that mean? The crime lords were taken aback by a servant speaking so nonchalantly with them, but they didn't take any offense. Rather, the old one was glad to talk about it. The stone monks from Mount Erode have this ritual. At the end of their lives, the most enlightened ones attempt this extremely difficult rite of passage. The ones that succeed attain a status of semi-divinity. They go through a strict diet regimen in the end of their lives, only fibers and barely any water for weeks, and they step into an urn when they are ready, where they meditate until they die. The goal is to die while sitting and remain in that position after death. The diet they go through, well, first during all of their lives, but especially at the end, helps to preserve their bodies. You could call it a self-mummification. The bodies are preserved forever, symbolizing the beauty of their pious lives and hardship and reward of the sacrifices they made during their journey. For them, it's the highest form of art, transcendent, eternal. It's quite an interesting practice. Deidara saw red. He began to laugh, quietly at first, but his laughter progressed into maniacal cackling. The entire room turned their eyes towards him, but he didn't care, which unsettled the crime lords. What's your problem, boy? So that's art for them. That's what they meant by great passing. I said I would teach them the true meaning of art. I suppose it's time, Deidara said to no one in particular. What are you yapping about? Cats! All crime lords exploded from within at the same time, painting the entire room red, including Deidara himself. He had slipped several sand dwellers into their food and drinks. The Rain Ninja escorts drew their weapons and prepared to fight, but Deidara looked at them with bloodlusted eyes. You've already failed your mission. There's no point in fighting me. Deidara's aura made them all recoil. There was no point in dying over an already failed mission. Deidara left the room and the hideout entirely, creating a large bird he could fly on. He cruised the night sky, flying over the land of Earth. His destination was the Erode Temple. He could finally show those monks real art. He would erase that eternal desecration they called great passing from existence. It would be sublimized with the noblest art of all, with a pinnacle of creative expression, with a bang. It took Deidara a few hours, but he finally saw the temple in the distance on top of that mountain. Deidara had forgotten how ugly it was, how much he hated it, but it didn't matter anymore, for the temple was about to become beautiful. Deidara bit into an amount of clay much larger than usual and infused with chakra, putting far more than ever before. Deidara had been practicing a new form of his art, one far more explosive, one that could deliver infinity to that temple all at once, but he had never tried it at a large scale. Now was the time. He crafted a large and fat statuette and looked at it with pride. This is far beyond my regular C1 ninjutsu. It's C3, and I'll call you Ohako, Deidara said, talking to his new creation. He hovered 1 kilometer exactly above the peak of the mountain where the temple stood and tossed his C3. It expanded in size and became much larger than the bird he flew on. The large clay creation fell, cutting the air and making that ominous sound of a plummeting bomb. The C3 got closer and closer to the temple. As it accelerated with the fall, the heavens would deliver death to all the monks who resided in there. And Deidara smiled. You should all be happy. I am redeeming you all your sorry lives of unsightly devotion to eternity. With my masterpiece, I shall give you meaning. I shall make you meaning. I shall make you art, because true art is an explosion. Cat! What? Night became day. A gargantuan fireball engulfed the entire temple in a split second, consuming absolutely everything in its path, reducing the buildings and people into ash. For that moment, it was as if the mountain was a great lighthouse with the most powerful flame in the universe. It lasted for less than a blink of an eye, but Deidara saw it. In that fraction of a second, they were infinite. The temple, the monks, all of it. But after infinity came the shockwave, which destroyed the entire mountain below with an apocalyptic level of destruction. It was over. The temple that had stood there for thousands of years was reduced to nothing in a mere instant. Deidara raised his hands towards the sky and smiled in utter satisfaction. True beauty and purpose don't lie on the journey, but at the ending. A journey with no end can never be beautiful, for the ending is the only moment of truth, the only moment that matters, the only moment where one can glimpse infinity. That is the true meaning of art. All crime lords are dead, Deidara told Onoki in his office the morning after he destroyed the everyday temple.
Very good, Deidara. I'll give you your next assignment in a few days. The underground infiltration took you almost 2 weeks, so you can rest a bit for now.
Fair enough, old man. Deidara smiled and made his way back home. He was radiating happiness. The destruction of the temple had been by far the most beautiful art piece he had ever created. He arrived at an empty home. Apparently all members of his foster family were on missions out of the stone village. He spent that day working on molding his art pieces and went to bed early, as he didn't sleep last night. The next morning, Kurotsuchi arrived from her mission. They both sat to have breakfast together. So you're finally back, Deidara? Took you long enough? Well, the mission was easy. It just took a lot to prepare for it. I kinda hate that type of assignment, he said, drinking from his glass of water. Of course, you prefer just to explode things. But don't you think when an explosion is hard to accomplish, it makes it more satisfying? They are not hard at all to accomplish. I can do them at will. Well, I meant a specific explosion on a specific target. Deidara remembered the temple and its obliteration. His face became a smirk. I suppose you're right. See? Well, anyway, my mission was pretty easy. And Mom and Dad should be back by the end of the week. Are they on difficult missions? Oh, I forgot you weren't here when they left. Well, not really. Pretty standard stuff. Dad is on a routine patrol in the land of Crystal's border. And oh yeah, this will make you giggle, I think. Mom went seeking out some new recruits around the land of Earth, and she told me she was going to get some from that temple of yours again. Deidara dropped his glass of water. It shattered on the ground. But for once, Deidara paid no attention to the unique patterns of destruction. Oh, come on, you're so clumsy, Kurotsuchi said, but Deidara gave no reply. He stared at nothing. His eyes trembled. Hey, stop daydreaming. Are you gonna clean up this mess? When did Kurohiri leave for the temple? I don't know, a few days ago. How much is a few? 4 days ago, I think. Why you wanna know? Was she going to any other places before the temple? No, the old geezer liked the results from the temple recruits. He told her to go there straight. Kurotsuchi has stopped calling the Tsuchikage Grandpa after what she learned from the secret mission Deidara received in the Chunin exams. She lost a lot of respect for him. Deidara would have pointed the change in behavior out, but he was still staring at nothing, remembering the temple's destruction, but now suddenly the sight terrified him. He stood up abruptly. I have to do something, and left the house. What? Oh, stop coming up with excuses and clean up your mess! But Deidara didn't look back. He created a large and fast clay bird and flew straight towards the temple. He put his eye gadget on and began to scout the path towards the temple looking for Kurohiri. Ninjas took about 2 days to reach the temple, meaning 4 days ago meant that Kurohiri would have arrived at the temple itself 2 days ago, before Deidara exploded it, which happened 1 day ago. However, Deidara remembered that Kurohiri stayed a day in the temple when he came to recruit him, so it was likely that she was there when the temple exploded. But Deidara kept on scouting. He saw merchants, travelers, other stone ninjas, but no sign of her. Deidara couldn't give up. Maybe she didn't stay the night there. Maybe she left the same day. But that wasn't like her. She would give the recruits time to say goodbye, just like she did before. It took a few hours of flying for Deidara to see the sites of destruction he had created, where the temple once stood, but he got there. However, he did not see Kurohiri along the way. She wasn't coming back to the stone village. Deidara landed near a small crowd of people who stared at the former temple. Most of them seemed happy with the arrival of a stone ninja. Mister, Deidara, do you know what happened here? A confused man asked. Deidara ignored that question. I will tell you, an old woman said. I live in a small village nearby. It happened 2 nights ago. The gates of hell opened. The temple exploded, and the fire was so bright I thought I would go blind. And then came the shockwave. It shattered all my windows. Those monks, they did something foul. Yes, they did. And they got their retribution, the old lady prophesied. Deidara located a merchant caravan in the crowd. They had a lot of merchandise on their wagons. You, merchants, did you come here from the stone village? Yes, we did. How long ago did you leave? We left the stone village about 3 weeks ago. We passed by cities and outposts till we got here. This was our next stop, but we don't know what happened to the temple. Did a small group of stone ninjas pass by you, led by a pretty woman with dark, short hair? Yeah, actually, they passed by us 3 or 4 days ago. They bought a few supplies, and then she said they were headed to the temple. The merchant's face became grim, and Deidara stood there, staring at the crater he had created. Kurohiri was there. She was there. And Deidara would never be able to talk to her again. Never be able to see her happy face. He didn't even remember what their last interaction was about. The last words they exchanged. He tried to recollect them, but he just couldn't. Damn you, unsightly temple! You took her from me! You took everything from me! You damn monks killed her! Deidara shouted, drawing the eyes of the crowd. They started to ask more questions, but Deidara ignored them, hopped on his bird, and flew away. The journey back to the village was a blur. Deidara's mind was a disjointed mess of thoughts and emotions. He didn't know what to do. Would the village want retribution for what he did? He certainly wouldn't mind destroying a temple. The Kurohiri was there, and Kurotsuchi. How would Deidara even tell her that her mom was killed by that temple? When he arrived back, he circled above the stone village, time and time again, wasting time and procrastinating. He simply didn't want to go down there and face what would happen, whatever it was. Suddenly, Deidara realized that he enjoyed the status quo his life had been on, and now everything had changed. Then again, explosions were about changing things, altering their state from intact to destroyed, and in that process, revealing their beauty. So art itself was change. Deidara had to embrace it. He only managed to make his way home after the sunset. Before he got inside, he spat some of his creations to the ground using his mouth hands, and sent his large bird back up. Once he entered his home, he found Kurotsuchi taking a nap in the living room, hugging the white fox plushie Deidara had given her. Kurotsuchi! She woke up, startled. You're finally back. Where have you been all this time? And you look pale. How would you like to die? What? What the hell are you talking about? Just answer me. Of old age? What about Kurohiri? How do you think she would have liked to die? What the hell are these questions? Just answer me. Of old age too, of course. Is this one of your artistic things? Asking about death? That temple. I'm sorry, Kurotsuchi, but the temple killed Kurohiri. What? What are you talking about? That cursed place. It took away my parents and my life, and now it took away my second mother. Deidara, what are you saying? She stood up with tears in her eyes. It was such an ugly and foul place. The monks, they were evil incarnate. Deidara, can you explain what the hell you're talking about? A knock came from the door. Ambu Ops, open up. Kurotsuchi kept on staring at Deidara, but she walked to the door and opened it for 2 masked stone Ambu ninjas. They entered their home. Kurotsuchi, Deidara, Lord Tsuchikage commanded us to relay a message. A messenger falcon has just arrived to the village. The Erode temple has been completely devastated. We don't know if Kurohiri was there when it happened, but a team was sent to investigate. She wasn't there. I already did the investigating. Deidara's tone was dark. What? Kurotsuchi screamed, tears now streaming down her face. That temple claimed many lives. Kurohiri was another one of those. But don't worry, the temple is gone now. Its ugliness will never harm anyone ever again. 2 white clay grasshoppers jumped from the ceiling towards the back of the neck of each Ambu member. Deidara motioned a quick hand sign, and they exploded with a small charge, dropping the 2 Ambu in an instant. Deidara, what the hell? What are you doing? Kurotsuchi screamed. She hadn't even finished her sentence when a large clay centipede emerged from the ground and wrapped itself around Kurotsuchi. I have no future here. They'll arrest me or kill me, and so I won't be able to produce my art. So I'm leaving. Didn't you hear what they said? And why did you kill them? What the hell? Kurotsuchi tried to unentangle herself. Do not move. You know what happens if you do. Her eyes opened wide in shock, and she stopped trying to release herself. The situation overwhelmed her senses, and she trembled. What is the meaning of this? Deidara, we're siblings. After I was done with my last mission, I just couldn't stand that temple anymore. I hated it too much. Its ugliness, its lack of art. How they told the world they were the best. How they brainwashed us. But all it stood for was a mistake. I had to correct that, so I used my most powerful art piece and destroyed it. I had no idea Kurohiri was inside. The temple claimed her life.
Are you insane? The temple didn't kill her. You did, you monster.
She died in a beautiful bang, a death anyone should be proud of. In her last moments, she achieved beauty only a few could ever dream of. For my art will never be surpassed. Kurohiri will always have died to the most beautiful ninjutsu of all. Deidara heard ninjas dashing towards the house, no doubt because of the explosion sounds. Goodbye, Kurotsuchi, Deidara said to a crying, desperate girl trapped by the clay centipede. He left his former home and spotted a 3-man squadron rushing his way. Deidara's large bird dived down from the sky and exploded on them, wiping them out in an instant. Deidara created a large flying bird, the quickest variety he knew. More stone ninjas came down upon him, but Deidara was ready. He sent small birds at them. They exploded all around Deidara, killing the enemies and obscuring the street with ash and smoke. He broke through the smoke and took to the sky on his bird, flying up. The bird's wings beat very fast.
What is the meaning of this, Deidara?
The Tsuchikage screamed, flying his way. The old man was fast. I knew you would come for me, old fart. Deidara sent a flock of birds, dashing towards the Tsuchikage. Onoki weaved hand signs and spat pieces of rock that intercepted them in the sky. Several explosions dotted the night sky of the stone village as Onoki kept on spitting the rocks, even after all the birds were destroyed, to aim for Deidara, who in turn dodged them, flying with elegance on top of his agile bird.
You destroyed that temple, didn't you? You're the only one capable of doing that. Did you know Kurohiri was in there?
I destroyed the temple, but it was the temple that killed her.
That's foolishness, boy!
Onoki kept on chasing Deidara, who circled above the stone village. Thousands of people now watched the fight from below, including Kurotsuchi after the centipede lost its grip on her. Deidara's hands bit on a massive amount of clay.
You stupid brat! I thought you had become a stone ninja! I thought we gave you everything! I provided you with all you wanted!
I am first and foremost an artist, old fart! That temple was an outrage. It shouldn't exist! All those monks deserve to die!
You are out of your damn mind! You learned nothing! You cannot simply wipe out an entire population in the land of Earth! And you cannot kill your own ninja!
Quiet, you hypocrite bastard! You didn't care when I was doing it to your enemies! But art is art, no matter the recipient. It knows no bounds. And now, I will show you what happened to that temple. I shall give you my final performance. Deidara created the same doll he used to destroy the stone temple. Behold, my C3 Ohako! The doll expanded to a size much larger than his bird.
If something like that explodes, now it makes sense how he destroyed the temple. I had no idea he had such a powerful jutsu in his arsenal. I underestimated him.
Onoki thought.
I'm sorry, brat, but you have become too much of a problem.
Onoki said, weaving hand signs.
Particle style! Atomic dismantling jutsu!
A beam of white light erupted from his hands in the geometric form of a column thicker than his body. The great beam cruised the dark sky above the village with insane speed and hit Deidara, his bird, and the massive doll that was about to plummet, deleting all three of them from existence. Kurotsuchi watched from below at the moment Deidara, who she had considered as a brother, turned to dust. The entire village did. She forced herself to stop crying and return home, grabbed the white fox plushie and spat a drop of lava on it, burning it slowly but surely until there was nothing left but ash. I have to admit, the old fart's jutsu was pretty artistic. It just lacked some pop. A peasant said, looking up at the fight as Onoki turned Deidara into dust. The peasant was outside of the stone village, and he was the real Deidara, transformed. He used the cover of the smoke his explosions created on the street to produce a clay clone and transform his real self to slip away from the village, as all eyes were turned towards the sky. I could have dodged that, you know, old fart, but this way you'll think I'm dead for a long time, won't you? Deidara said to no one in particular. He kept on walking until he was far enough away from the village to create a bird and fly without being spotted. Deidara would leave the land of Earth, explore new places in the world, find new opportunities to showcase his art far away from the grip of the stone village. He had to make sure his ninjutsu would always be the most beautiful of all, not only because the virtuous search for beauty, but to ensure Kurohiri's death would always remain the most beautiful possible, to make her sacrifice worthwhile. Over the following months, Deidara took a lot of jobs where he could use his explosions, produce his art to the fullest. He always used his headband to take the jobs to show that he came from a powerful shinobi village and had proper ninja training. That way, his contractors would be more willing to give Deidara difficult missions that required a lot of his art, the ones Deidara wanted to do the most. He didn't charge much, only enough to sustain himself, and didn't ask any questions, working for anyone who would give him a proper job. Deidara was aware he was a rogue ninja, but he didn't mind. His newfound freedom was refreshing, and because Deidara didn't charge much and asked no questions, combined with his impressive success rate, he became a highly demanded asset for many organizations that used him for all sorts of missions. Because of that, he gained a lot of notoriety and his reputation became fierce, especially within the black markets around the shinobi continent. A few ambush stone ninjas even tried to ambush and eliminate Deidara, but he easily disposed of them. Apparently the stone found out he escaped, but it was too late now. His trick had worked, so there was nothing the stone could do to bring him back. And Deidara couldn't say he missed his old village too much. Perhaps the life he lived with Kurohiri and Kurotsuchi, but his new freedom and the possibility of using his art much more freely offset that. Though Deidara really wished he could see the old fart's face once he realized he hadn't finished the job and Deidara was indeed alive. Still, he would likely never return to the land of Earth. After traveling much more around the continent, he found that it was by far the ugliest place he had ever been. All other places were much better and had a greater sense of aesthetics. Not just the villages themselves, but also the landscapes. One day, he received a message that there were new prospective clients asking for him specifically, so Deidara went to the meeting point to receive his new mission. It was a temple in the land of grass. When he entered the temple, he was taken aback. There were 3 weirdos with black cloaks stamped with red clouds and crossed off headbands. One of them was blue. Regardless, Deidara didn't ask any questions. He just did the job. "What do you have for me?" "We don't have a mission for you. We have come here to recruit you," the man with black hair said. "What? I'm not interested. If you don't have a job, then see ya." "Oh, please. I believe you should consider it. We're the Akatsuki. Have you heard of us?" The blue man asked with a chuckle. "Akatsuki? Don't know and don't care." From this point, we get a full flashback of Deidara joining the Akatsuki, fighting Itachi, and all those things we saw during the Sasuke vs Deidara fight, it's happening here instead. This flashback will actually end the Stone Village and Deidara flashback section of the arc, as Deidara gets angry because the Sharingan, a form of art he finds even more beautiful than his own, but doesn't acknowledge it and seeks to destroy it, to make his own art prevail, in order to simply be the greatest artist on the planet, but also to keep Kurohiri's legacy alive. Deidara appeared at the dark forest below. The sky had been black for a long time now. He had been searching for Sasuke Uchiha for hours, his obsession growing stronger by the minute. Deidara saw that eye, that crimson eye, the Sharingan in his mind's eye. It mocked him. It was almost as though it dared Deidara to use his art against it, to try and prove himself with an air of superiority, as if Deidara was nothing. He would prove that eye wrong. He would find the Uchiha boy and finish the job. And after him, it would be Itachi. "Senpai!" Tobi said, now flying on a second bird nearby Deidara's. He got fed up with Tobi's antics and kicked him out of his bird, creating a new one for him. That allowed Deidara to concentrate better on the search for Sasuke. "What is it, Tobi?"
It's almost 4 a.m. It's pitch black. You can't find anyone during the night like this.
"Scouting is a speciality of mine, Tobi. Do not underestimate me."
Oh, come on. We could just fight during the day. And why do you want to fight him so bad? We're not on a time crunch.
That eye of his, I will destroy it. Every single one of them. They will not triumph.
Oh, sure, but you can't do that during the day.
I cannot let Sasuke Uchiha find Itachi first, because then one is gonna kill the other, and I won't be able to kill both of them. Do you understand? I will kill every single Uchiha. Itachi has already stolen so many kills off of me. He won't steal Sasuke. My art will prevail. Deidara looked at something below and opened a wide smile.
Senpai, you're scary.
Sasuke woke up at around 4 a.m. He rested well and recovered a good portion of his chakra, but the fight against Naruto was still fresh in his mind. The wind-style Rasengan, that wasn't something Sasuke expected Naruto to produce, and neither was that sealing jutsu and the trick with Sakura. That made Sasuke angry. He let his emotions dictate his actions. He had to be cold, heartless. That's what he needed to be until Itachi was dead. Sasuke walked through the forest, making his way towards his team wherever they were. He didn't know if they would be at a meeting point, but Sasuke Sasuke figured Karin would use her sensory capabilities to find him, if she wasn't captured or neutralized, of course. Sasuke was aware of the possibility of running into more leaf ninjas, which shouldn't be so detrimental now, seeing he had recovered a decent amount of chakra, but it would be best to avoid more encounters before he found Itachi. He turned around with a brisk motion, noticing a presence in the forest. Who goes there? Toby emerged from the trees, just like in the original, and this is where we get Sasuke versus Deidara. Now, I will explain the changes to this fight in the rewrite. The first and pretty obvious one in the context here is that the fight will happen during the night. Deidara's explosions and Sasuke's lightning style will look very aesthetic that way, and it's kind of a theme of the Stone Village arc here. All the fights pretty much happen during the night. It's a good change in scenery from all the other fights that happened during the Itachi Pursuit arc, which were during the day. The second change to this fight is that the flashback of Deidara joining the Akatsuki will not happen in the middle of the fight, as it already happened before, but we can still have brief flashes to expose Deidara's thoughts when he's thinking of Itachi and the Sharingan as his anger grows during the fight. The third change is that, well, there will be no other changes. This fight is pretty much perfect and extremely underrated in the series. But because this fight is probably the most controversial fight of the entire series, I will use this section of the rewrite to explain why it's not changing. Now, a lot of people don't like this fight because Sasuke wins it, which you can't do much about it. People don't like Sasuke, it's their loss. But if it was Naruto in the same situation, they wouldn't complain. It's just because it's Sasuke. But there are points that people bring up saying that Sasuke should have lost the fight, which are completely incorrect. One of them is that people say that Sasuke's lightning style should not have countered Deidara's explosions. But Deidara's explosions were clay based off of earth style. The explosion style is a combination of lightning and earth styles. And a lightning style attack managed to diffuse the earth style in the clay, rendering them useless. It's a very interesting mechanic that happened in the fight. It made for some amazing moments, and it was a mechanic developed beforehand. So it didn't come out of nowhere like a Deus Ex Machina so that Sasuke could win the fight. It's pretty obvious that clay would be a derivative of earth style, right? So it does make sense here. We saw Kakashi completely annihilating Kakuzu's earth style in the previous arc, and the entire explanation about lightning being strong against earth. And if you want to go even further back, we saw Sasuke's Chidori overpowering Gaara's sand, which is magnet style, which is the combination of earth and wind styles, meaning that lightning style managed to overpower the earth style portion of Akeke Genkai even back in Naruto Part 1. And some people say that, oh, it doesn't make sense that lightning beats earth because in the real world it's like the opposite. Lightning can't do much against earth. And that is true, but I don't need Naruto to be consistent with the real world. I need Naruto to be consistent with itself. The magic system can explore several different things. It doesn't have to be exactly like it is in the real world, so lightning beats earth in the Naruto universe, which is a rule that Kishimoto came up with, and he was very consistent with it, which makes sense, hence I don't have to change that. The second problem people bring up is the reverse summon and how Sasuke escaped C0. Yes, that was the first time Sasuke used a reverse summon. That was the first time in the entire series, actually, that anybody used a reverse summon. But even though that wasn't developed in the series, it does make sense. What do you think would happen if you summoned a massive creature, made the creature eat you via a control genjutsu, and then summoned the creature? You would probably just go with the creature, right? You wouldn't stay where you were and the creature go and you're just slimy with saliva or stomach fluids. So that mechanic does make sense, even though it appears for the first time in that fight. And in the rewrite, I have used the reverse summon several times to prepare it as a bit of foreshadowing for this fight. And Sasuke has also used mind control genjutsu several times, not only against people but also against other summons, including a Manda-sai summon in Gamma Hero during the fight against Jiraiya. So that is all well prepared for. Another issue people have with the reverse summon is that Sasuke summoned Manda way too fast, which is completely debunked by the very beginning of the Deidara vs Sasuke fight when Sasuke summons a snake to serve as a shield in a split second. Deidara's explosives were about to hit Sasuke. We don't even see him weaving hand signs and he summons a white snake. It's a smaller snake, but it's a summoning jutsu, which should work pretty much instantaneously so he can get out of the way. We see that the C0 explosion is not instantaneous. There's a lot of charge time. There's that bright light that comes out of Deidara's chest. And yes, Manda is very hurt and dies after Tsugetsu summons it back. And you can assume it took the beginning of the explosion before it completely took shape, and that's why it died and it didn't get completely disintegrated. Another argument people have against Sasuke winning this fight by unsummoning himself was that he didn't have enough chakra to summon Manda and put Manda under a genjutsu. And people especially come up with that because Deidara called Sasuke out saying he has no chakra anymore. Remember, Deidara was not a sensory type. He had no idea of the exact amount of chakra Sasuke would have. And yeah, Sasuke was tired and he looked really rough, but that's because he had to Chidori himself in order to defuse the C4 nano explosives inside of his body. body. If he was completely out of chakra, Orochimaru would have emerged out of him. In the original series, that is. Because the Orochimaru mechanics will be a bit different in the rewrite, you'll see when we get to it. Needless to say, Sasuke still had enough chakra to summon Manda at that point. If Kabuto back in Naruto Part 1, after eating a Rasengan from Naruto and being unable to completely heal himself because the damage was too extensive and he didn't have enough chakra, was able to summon Manda afterwards, like 5 minutes after that, then Sasuke would definitely have enough chakra to do so. Overall, this fight is amazing. Not only does it have probably the best tactics out of any Naruto fight that doesn't involve Shikamaru, the thematic is also extremely interesting, with Deidara trying to prove his art is better than the Sharingan, obsessing over it, and at the very end, his ultimate masterpiece, the C0, is beaten by the Sharingan, controlling Manda in that scenario. But overall, the theme is that the Sharingan does beat Deidara, and that's frustrating for Deidara, obviously. And the reason why people don't really appreciate that fight as much as they should is because it sorta comes out of nowhere in the original. That's the reason why I did this entire arc in the rewrite. It was in order to prepare for the Sasuke versus Deidara fight, to develop Deidara as well as the Stone Village and several characters from the Stone Village and expand the world building, but to give Deidara more character, a more extensive background, and make the Sasuke versus Deidara fight more climactic and emotional, with a C0 explosion going off, mimicking the shape of the first explosion Deidara has ever created with those paper bombs in the beginning of the arc. The Itachi Pursuit Squadron slept in the dark forest, except for Shikamaru. The pain on his right stump was intense, but this wasn't what kept him awake. Shikamaru kept on thinking about the fight against Kabuto, drawing up hundreds of different scenarios, trying to figure out a way he could have saved Anko. Nothing seemed good enough to him. Kabuto's new powers caught him by surprise, and he wasn't able to come up with a proper counter even now. It was the same thing the day Asuma died. Sure, he eventually eliminated his sensei's killer, but Shikamaru needed to be effective the first time he encountered a new foe, even if he had no intel. Still, it didn't matter anymore. He could no longer be a ninja without an arm. Shikamaru would join one of the Leaf Village's intelligence branches and salvage his ninja career somehow. That was the only way he could be helpful. A great column of light manifested itself at the horizon. It was so massive and bright that it turned the night more luminous than day. "Everyone, look!" Shikamaru yelled, waking the others. "What the hell is that?" Naruto asked. The column of light had two protrusions that pointed up in a diagonal line. "I have no idea," Kakashi said. "Whatever it is, it's gigantic," Yamato said. "Oh, it's beautiful," Ino said. "It's some sort of chakra." Neji stared at it with his Byakugan. His face was still cut and bruised from the fight against Sasuke. "And the feel of the chakra is similar to Deidara's. It reminds me of the chakra of the fake-out explosion he used to escape us when we were rescuing the Kazekage." The shockwave hit with a deafening sound, blowing away the leaves from the trees around them and bending their trunks. They were all launched a few meters by sheer air pressure. Tenten hit her head on a rock and passed out. Sakura rushed to her and quickly started to heal her bleeding forehead. "It was 93 seconds between the blast and the shockwave. That beacon of light is almost 32 kilometers away," Shikamaru said. "But if the Deidara guy wasn't after Naruto, then who did he use that jutsu on?" Kiba asked. "Sasuke Uchiha," Shino said. "Why would Sasuke be fighting him?" Sakura asked. "To collect intel on Itachi, of course. That is the purpose of our mission as well as his. If I hadn't failed to track Deidara, we could have done that instead." "I don't know, I'm kinda glad we weren't the target of that explosion," Choji said. "But if we know Deidara's there, we should rush there now! We can still catch him!" Lee said. "Lee, you can barely stand up from the gates. My heels are cut, and we're all hurt. And Shikamaru said that thing was like 100 kilometers away." 32. "Yeah, same thing. We just can't get there in time. It would be too risky." "Do you have a fever, Naruto? Normally you'd be the first one rushing there," Yamato said. "There's no point going in there right now as we are. We need Sakura and Ina to heal us tomorrow, right, Kakashi-sensei?" Exactly. Kakashi was impressed with Naruto's maturity. "But Naruto, if Sasuke was a target of that explosion like Shino said, I really doubt he could have survived it," Shikamaru said. "Nah, you think that tiny flare's gonna take Sasuke out? Don't be so naive. That wasn't tiny, man. I just can't see a world where Sasuke would lose to that Deidara guy."
That Deidara, he blew himself up,
Black Zetsu said, staring at Deidara's demise. "What about Toby?" White Zetsu asked.
"He was caught in the explosion. He was within the blast range."
"Well, so much for that. He's such a good boy."
"That is a good thing. It was about time Toby died."
What the hell was that shockwave? Suigetsu shouted after the blast woke him up. I don't know, but it can't be good, Karin screamed. What's going on? Jugo said, finally waking up. I don't know what could create an explosion of that size. Even a tail beast bomb doesn't come close, Suigetsu said, worried. Karin tried to send Sasuke's chakra, and she felt nothing. It couldn't be. Sasuke could not be in that explosion, could he? Sasuke, no! At this point, we get the scene where the Akatsuki unite and talk about Tobi and Deidara's deaths, and Zetsu tells Itachi that Sasuke died as well. This scene will largely remain the same, but Itachi and Kisame will be holograms instead of being physically on top of the Ghetto Mazo, because they're currently in the Blazing Horn region. One noteworthy change is that Itachi will keep his right hand within his robe to hide the fact he's wearing no ring. Even though he is a hologram, he's not going to take any risks, and Kisame will do the same with his left hand, which is his ring hand. Smoke emerged from a scroll attached to Suigetsu's waist, and the snake symbol had vanished from it. Alright, that's how he did it! Suigetsu uses that scroll and Sasuke's blood to summon Manda. We then get the same scene where Sasuke comes out of the snake, and it's pretty much exactly how the original is, but there will be one addition. When Karin thirsts over Sasuke all hurt and shirtless, Suigetsu will look at her with a scowl, and there will be a change in one of Sasuke's lines. Instead of Sasuke saying Orochimaru was ill and that's why he defeated him so easily, after Karin's provocation, he will say, that guy was stronger than Orochimaru. We then get the Tobi Madara reveal scene where he talks to Pain and Konan. A few lines will change here. Madara will not say that Itachi doesn't have much longer, he will say instead, he senses our end goal is near. And instead of saying Naruto destroyed 2 of Kaku's hearts, he'll say he destroyed 3 because that's what happened in the rewrite. Also in the manga, this scene is split between 2 chapters, with other scenes in between, but in the rewrite, we'll get the whole reveal without interruptions in between. That will actually help the flow of the narrative in the rewrite. And it's here that we find out that the man who saved Konan in the Land of Whirlpools, as well as the man who saved Team Heavy during the Itachi Pursuit mission, was Tobi, aka Madara Uchiha. In the context of the rewrite, this reveal should hit even harder because Madara was teased and foreshadowed even more than in the original. We then get the scene when Itachi and Kisame are in the rain, and they talk about whether or not Sasuke is dead. That does not change. The difference is that this scene will be during the night, and when the scene is about to end and the storm is fading away, the sun will be rising at the same time. Team Heavy takes Sasuke to rest in that inn. They exchange the information that they couldn't find much on the Akatsuki like in the original, and then Suigetsu says, we also fought against a leaf, Sakura more specifically. Sasuke's gaze remained firm, and Suigetsu was taken aback by Sasuke's non-reaction to the name. You know, Karin even tried to Karin slapped Suigetsu in the mouth, preventing him from finishing the sentence. God, what was that for? I saved her life after Jugo went berserk. That's what I did. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. You're out of control again, Jugo? Yes, I'm sorry. Who stopped you this time? It was Bugman! Shino, I see. Will you be more careful next time, Sasuke?
It was your fault he went berserk, you idiot.
Shut up, Suigetsu! We have to be on guard. This place is flocking with leaf ninjas. Karin, use your sensory capabilities to detect any approaching shinobis, and Jugo, use your birds to scout as well. They can sense chakra, can't they? Yes, they should be able to help. Wow, so even lowly animals can sense chakra, huh? Just like Karin. Suigetsu said, provoking her. He didn't want her to focus on Sasuke so much, and teasing other people and being mean to them was his way of trying to get attention and also showing affection. But Karin stomped on his face, exploding Suigetsu into water. And here we get the same scene when Jugo runs out of control from the violence he witnesses. Sasuke activates his Sharingan to calm him down, and then Sasuke falls asleep completely exhausted. Oh, damn it! I didn't even ask him to summon my Executioner's Blade back! Don't wake him up for that. He needs to rest, Karin said, and Suigetsu pouted at that. Oh, stop being a baby! We're off then, Shikamaru told the group. His stump was wrapped by bandages, and Sakura had given it proper healing. She managed to make the pain stop completely. Tenten was next to him. Her head was wrapped in bandages from the incident a few hours ago. Safe journey to you, Kakashi said, and the two jumped away to return to the Leaf Village. Sakura and Ino, now with their chakra recovered, healed the members of the squadron. Pretty much all of them were hurt in varying degrees. They would spend the whole day healing, and their chakras would be depleted as well. Sakura used her healing ninjutsu on Neji's face. She had never seen someone getting beaten up so bad like that, and Sasuke had been the one to do it. I can't believe he did this to you. Why would he? Sakura asked. Honestly, he didn't want to, Neji said. What do you mean? I pushed him into fighting me, even though he wanted to leave. But why? I'm closing your wounds, but the scars will stay on your face forever. I needed to experience it for myself. The feeling of powerlessness. Right now, I'm not even close to his level, and I need to remember that. Naruto said Sasuke froze when he saw me, or my image. But if he did this to Neji, I wonder what he would do to me if we encountered each other. And that explosion, what if it actually caught him? Sakura thought. She felt a tender touch on her shoulder. It was Naruto's hand. He must have noticed she was looking worried. You'll be alright, Sakura. We're bringing him back. Kakashi-sensei and Captain Yamato came up with a good plan. And what is this plan? If we can't find Sasuke or Itachi before they fight each other, we will no doubt be able to detect them when they engage in combat, Kakashi said. When they lock in combat, those two will create a battle of epic proportions. That should be easy for us to locate and detect with our sensory types. So even if we can't find them before they clash, we can still rush to their fight and stop them. And hopefully by the time we arrive, they will both be weakened by them fighting each other, and it will be easier for us to capture them both. This will only work if the fight doesn't end quickly though, but it's the best we have, and this really doesn't look like the type of fight that would end in a minute, Yamato said. If we fight together, we can beat them, especially with my new jutsu. It's made for the Sharingan, Naruto told Sakura, who smiled and nodded at him, reassured. He sleeps like a princess, doesn't he? Suigetsu said as Sasuke slept in the room. The three other heavy members sat on the ground around him. I never met a princess, so I don't know. Oh, shut up, Suigetsu. Well, good news is that I don't sense any chakra presences approaching us. The leaf ninjas are probably resting. Great, I suppose. It is a good thing. It would be better if I had my sword. You'll have it once Sasuke wakes up, for crying out loud. Yeah, sure. We can't wake up the princess. Sasuke's not a princess. Sure he is. He was always Orochimaru's favorite. That's true, I suppose. See? Well, that's because Orochimaru wanted to obtain Sasuke's body. That's why he treated him so well, relatively speaking. Yeah, if you think about it, all our lives were horrible under Orochimaru. Oh, shut your mouth! You were a prison warden. That's nothing. I was stuck in water for years, in a tank, like a fish! I didn't have it easy, okay? I never did! Oh yeah, I bet your life was horrible. It was. How so? I was born in the grass village, but I never knew my parents, so I lived on the streets, scraping by. No one ever cared about me. And one night, when I was 8, I was sleeping in an alleyway and a man attacked me and stabbed me in the gut 7 times with a rusty knife. Wait, what? Why? I didn't want to be his plaything. A grass ninja heard what happened and came to see what was going on. I killed the man who stabbed me. I was going to take my body to the morgue, but my wounds closed up and I survived. Apparently I had a talent, and that got that ninja's attention. He took me to the village elders and told them what I could do. I thought I was going to be praised and that my situation would improve, that somebody would finally take care of me and I wouldn't have to live on the streets anymore. But the village elders wanted to test my powers. They saw me as an opportunity, so they locked me in a basement, and a grass ninja who was a torture specialist ran all these weird experiments to measure the extent of my powers, calling up hundreds of people to bite into me and drain my chakra to see how good I could heal them. He even made other people bleed, inflicted wounds on several people and made me heal them. They bit all over my body. I find myself wanting to have died to that man who stabbed me, but after weeks of torture, they finally let me out of the basement. I passed all the tests he ran on me. I could regenerate my wounds and other people's wounds if they bit me and drained my chakra. So I was to become a ninja of the grass village. I thought I would finally live, but they used me as a healing battery. I went on missions so they could get healing from me. I did rounds in the grass village healing ninjas and citizens that were sick or wounded in exchange for payment, but I never saw that money. Everything went to the village itself. People from all around the land of grass flocked to the village to get healing from me, and I was ordered to do so. I was a tool to improve the nation's health, to keep keep their ninjas alive, to make that nation a better place. But what about me? They used me for years, and still no one cared about me. I was only good for my powers. And for a time, the Grass Village managed to accept much harder missions because they had me as a guarantee their ninjas wouldn't die. They bit me all over my body, and they kept doing it every day. Every time someone got a paper cut, they came to bite me, and they bit me in places. Well, that's how I found biting on my chest heals faster, and no one ever said thank you. No one ever acknowledged me. I might as well have been an object, a healing potion. I find out that was per the village elder's request, so that they wouldn't pity me and would drain me to the bone without caring for my well-being. I was only supposed to be used. When I found out about that, I was furious. I wanted to kill everyone who used me for healing, and above all, I wanted to kill the elders who ordered my torture and who made me a tool. So I trained in secret to develop other ninja abilities, as they never wanted to teach me combat-related stuff. I wasn't supposed to defend myself. It's much easier to have a healing battery that doesn't fight back, but combat techniques would let me kill them, and I was good at them, but I just couldn't take my revenge. I didn't have the willpower to revolt. I just accepted the hell my life was, wishing those knife stabs had taken me. But one day they sent me with a 3-man cell to participate in the Leaf Village tuning exams. They needed me in the team to make sure they would pass. I was their only guarantee of survival, and when I was away from the village and adult supervisors, I began to act more independently. I took over my squadron and became their leader. I commanded them to do what I wanted, and I showed my prowess in combat. They were surprised, but they had to obey me. I was stronger than them, and they plotted to escape after the tuning exams were done. But then I met Sasuke in that forest. Our squadrons fought, and they beat us bad, but I was enthralled. After they left us, I abandoned my squadron looking for Sasuke. I wanted to see him again, but when I finally located his chakra in the terrible forest, he was locked in combat with a creature. It wore the skin of a ninja from my village, but it wasn't her. What creature? Its chakra was dark, the most evil thing I've ever felt. That was Orochimaru. I saw him bestowing the curse mark to Sasuke, and I was overtaken by fear. Even though I wanted to help Sasuke, even though I saw his pain, I could just run away from that monster. But somehow he found me in the forest. I thought he had come to kill me for witnessing his fight against Sasuke, but instead he smiled and touched my cheek. And that was the first time I felt somebody showing affection.
My dear, you seem lost. Come with me. I will give you love and shelter, and Sasuke will join me shortly. If you come with me, you will see him again.
And so I left for Orochimaru. When the second test in the Forest of Death ended, Yoroi took me back to his hideout, and I started living there. I received additional ninja training, and it became a new home. I thought things had improved, but then Orochimaru arrived back from the failed attempt to destroy the Leaf Village, and his arms were cursed. He used me for my powers once more, drained me, trying everything he could to heal those wretched arms, but my healing could only provide mild relief, and that made him lash out in anger. He hurt me in the most nefarious ways. The Grass Village torture was nothing compared to him. Eventually he went looking for a better medic ninja, but he failed to get Tsunade to heal his arms, and so he went back to me, still lashing out when I failed to provide adequate results. I wanted to kill him so bad, but even if I had the willpower to do that, this time I could never. The difference in strength was simply too much. He only stopped doing that when he got a new body. He still couldn't use his arms. He couldn't mold chakra, but at least it didn't hurt anymore, so he didn't lash out on me. And then Sasuke arrived to the hideout. Seeing him there was like seeing a savior, God itself. He would take me out of that place, and we would live together forever.
Oh, spare me.
Let me finish. I saw something I couldn't imagine there. Sasuke talked back to Orochimaru, treating him like trash on his first day. That made me love him so much more. But Sasuke didn't even acknowledge me. He had different goals. He was focused on his revenge, and Orochimaru transferred me to some other place. I thought I would never see him again, so I protested because I wanted to see Sasuke, but Orochimaru said,
I promised that you would see Sasuke again, and you did.
So they took me to the southern hideout. There where Orochimaru used me to conduct his experiments. Some where I was the subject, and others where he simply served to heal who he was experimenting on so he could push the boundaries of what he could do and not kill the subject. Once again, I was nothing but a tool, and it was so much worse. Never thought I would miss the grass village. Orochimaru's experiments were sadistic. I saw him killing at least 1,000 people in front of me when even my healing ninjutsu couldn't keep up. They all died in the most brutal ways, but I behaved, completely devoid of any willingness to revolt, and utterly terrified of that creature. I did what he asked me to do, which eventually led him to promote me to the warden of the southern hideout. Hideout? That was just a prison. It was a prison, a hideout, and a terrifying lab. The prisoners were used for his experiments. When I became warden, he still did his experiments on me, but at least my life became a bit more bearable. I once again accepted that would be my life forever, and I would just have to get used to the suffering. But one day that all changed when Sasuke arrived at the southern hideout with the news that he had killed Orochimaru and was there to rescue me. I was there too, you know. It was my dream come true. Finally, he rescued me from Orochimaru, and now I can live a happy life with him. Ironic. What's ironic? You complain that every single person in your life didn't care about you and only used you as a tool for your powers, and that Sasuke saved you from that, but he's doing the exact same thing. You were a tool for his revenge. He's using you for your healing and sensorial capabilities. Can you not see that? Suigetsu said, looking at Sasuke, who was in a deep sleep. That's not true! Sasuke's not like them! Well, sure. Sasuke's not a psychopath bastard, but he is still using you for your powers. Karin started to cry. No, he cares about me, he's different! Jugo grabbed a blanket and put it over Karin to comfort her. He cares about you as a comrade, but you're helping him out because you want to get him in the end. But his heart belongs to another woman. I'll win him over! I really doubt that. I just don't understand how you cannot see the contradiction between your past and you liking Sasuke. You complain you're a tool, but no one will respect you if you don't respect yourself. You don't choose who you love. Tell me about it. Orochimaru connected the four of us in perverse ways. We have to do our best with these connections that were forged in darkness to make our lives better. It's the only thing we have left, Jugo said. I'm sorry, Karin. I didn't know all those things happened to you, and I didn't mean to lash out. I just wish you would. Never mind. You wish I would what? I said never mind. You're infuriating. You're so much more infuriating. Calm down, you two. You don't want me to get out of control again. Karin Suigetsu shut up immediately. I'm sorry. I wish I didn't have this condition. Jugo lowered his head in shame. It's okay, Jugo, Karin said. So, I told you my story, and now you have to tell me yours. Pass. You just make fun of me. I wouldn't. I can tell you mine if you want. Yes, go ahead, Jugo. I bet your story is much better than Suigetsu's. I wasn't always bipolar. I was born on a large island to the south of the Shinobi continent called Gizeiso. It was an extremely remote place, and the society there was primitive if you compare it to any nation in this continent. Life was peaceful for the most part, and we lived mostly off of fishing. My father was a vendor. He sold fish in the town markets, and my mother worked sewing. But when I was around 8 years old, the leader of the island died, leaving 2 sons to inherit it. The older son was a bastard, and the younger one was illegitimate. One thing led to another, and the island erupted into a civil war. Each brother raised an army, forcing the inhabitants of the respective territories to fight and die for them. It was brutal. The brothers didn't care at all about their people. They killed everyone who didn't support their cause, even though they were fighting to rule the entire island for the good of the people. Friends, families, even neighbors were forced to fight and kill each other for the whims of those brothers. My father died on the battlefield the first year of the war, fighting for the older brother's army. He was killed by a battalion made up of fishermen that used to sell him fish. My mother was killed by one of the younger brother's extermination battalions in the second year of the war. After they raided our home, I was captured, and they forced me to enlist into their army, the army that had killed my parents. I was only 10 at that time. They gave me no training and threw me into the battlefield to use me as fodder, but I didn't die. Time and time again, even though I was a 10-year-old boy with no training, I could fight, so they kept on throwing me into battlefields. I learned to kill to survive very early on. I hated it. I thought about just leaving. I even tried to desert a couple of times, but they caught me back and punished me for it. And so I had to go back to senseless killing for no reason at all. Some people that I had known, people from my own home. My childhood was all about seeing and causing death. So many died by the third year of war that the armies were mostly made of teens and children like me. I think the youngest kid I killed in the battlefield was around 6 years old, and one day he arrived. Orochimaru. He was a master in convincing people of doing things for him, and also accepting deals. And he convinced the younger brother, the leader of my army, that he could give him a way to win the war by providing his army with an immense power that would destroy the older bastard's army. And so the younger brother made all of his soldiers go through this ritual of gaining power. Orochimaru bestowed the curse mark upon us. The pain was unimaginable, and it almost killed me when it happened, but I resisted. I was one of the lucky ones. 9 out of every 10 soldiers died from the curse mark effects, but Orochimaru assured the younger brother that the power we gained would more than offset the loss in numbers. And so the brother arranged to meet his bastard brother's army on the battlefield for the last time. The two armies would clash against each other at full power to finally decide who would inherit that godforsaken island. And so the two armies, filled with children and teens, with a raging curse mark, clashed. We used the power of the curse mark. We wanted to achieve a quick victory, but the problem was, unbeknownst to the younger brother, Orochimaru had given the curse mark to the enemy army as well. He was using all of us to experiment with the curse mark, testing its powers. We were his guinea pigs. He was simply playing both sides so a great battle of curse marks would happen and he could see the results, see if something interesting would happen, and also try to find a proper vessel. The fighting was the most brutal thing I've ever witnessed. I killed everything that moved. I didn't even think it through. I just killed. The power of the curse mark blinded me to it. It desensitized me to the blood and death around me. I didn't even feel human anymore. It simply compelled me to kill until I lost myself entirely. The rest of the battle was a blur. When I came back to it, I stood alone on top of a mountain of corpses. Everywhere I looked was red, and one man stared at me with a terrifying smile.
Magnificent! You killed all of them. Your enemies, your allies. You destroy them all. You will be a perfect vessel.
I cried, realizing what I did, killing everyone after losing my sense of self. I massacred them all. My body, for some reason, was more adapted to the curse mark chakra. It could sustain it for longer. It could hold more chakra in, but it also made me much more unhinged for it. Orochimaru's neck extended and his head leapt towards me and bit me. He injected some kind of poison that made me pass out, and I woke up in his laboratory, where Orochimaru would conduct all sorts of experiments on me. He used drugs and jutsus that altered my state of mind, my body, and my chakra. He used sealing jutsus to perfect the pill he was creating, using my blood and my chakra for it. He tested all sorts of theories on me. I was his vessel, and after months of experiments, he developed the Mind Awakening pill, which allowed a curse mark user to gain much more control over it, to draw more curse chakra, and to gain finesse over it. A curse mark user becomes much more powerful whenever they eat that pill. It also can kill you, but Orochimaru developed a way around it. A sealing jutsu that would put your body on stasis so that you wouldn't die from the pill, and he used me to create all that. I was the first one to take the pill, and I was already gifted with a curse mark, so I became so much more powerful. But the experiments he ran on me, with all those drugs and jutsus affecting my brain, they all broke my mind. I became bipolar, and having the curse mark made my condition so much worse. I was too dangerous. Whenever I had an episode, the curse mark would lash out, and whenever the curse mark began to influence me, it made me even more psychotic. My unhingedness becomes a snowball of death. Kimimaro was the only one who could calm me down, and when he died, I got locked up because nobody could contain my episodes. It took years for you guys to come and free me, and thanks to Sasuke, I can be free again. He's the only one after Kimimaro that can calm me down. I don't want to kill anymore. I did it too much already. I hate doing that, and when I am having an episode, I don't even realize what's happening. Things things are fine for now because Sasuke is alongside me. He's relying on me to fulfill his mission, and I wish to keep him safe in gratitude for what he's done. But once he's done with his mission, I will become a burden. It makes no sense for Sasuke to be constantly worried about me, always watching over me in case I have an episode. I'll have to be locked up again. We'll take care of that when the mission is over, Suigetsu said. No offense, but you can't call me down. We can find a way. And also, I'm pretty sure Sasuke wouldn't just leave you hanging after helping him with his life's mission. Yes, Sasuke's a nice guy, Karin said, and Suigetsu scowled at her. I never knew you guys' stories were so screwed up, though. Well, I guess that's a requirement for anybody who ends up with Orochimaru. It's your turn now, Suigetsu. I told you I'm not telling you my story. Oh, come on, we're not gonna laugh. And we literally told you ours. My story's not even that interesting. It doesn't matter, just tell us. Suigetsu, sometimes it's better to let it out. I feel oddly calm and relaxed after having told you what happened to me. Okay, whatever. Well, I guess everything started on that mission. I went as an observer. Ironically enough, it was also to an island, Jugo. What kind of island? Well, it was an island of weirdos. The habitat of the Land of Water's Shark Clan. Continue to watch the Rewriting Naruto series right here. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video. This is a pretty long video. If you don't do this now, I don't know when you're gonna do it, so help me out here. Also, comment below your favorite part of this arc, and thank you so much for watching.